Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast, and it's been a big week in gaming. I'm Intergot for episode 40 on Sunday, the 18th of April 2021. As always, I'm joined by the official P3 nominated and approved Xbox Hall of Famer and #1 challenger to the mantle of the greatest Xbox RPG player in the world, Swinny.
Hello.
And the game-loving, grind-hating, $1 coffee drinking gamer, anti-gamer, and slightly less interrupter but run sheet ruiner and strange mask wearer, Mike.
Hello, wonderful people of the internet.
In this week's show, we'll be discussing highlights from Nintendo's big Nindy showcase. Could Square Enix be up for sale? And we investigate our Game of Summer the Year 2011 nominee, LA Noire. First off, plugs. You can hit us up on all the social medias at BigWigPod, or reach out to us directly at bigwigpod@gmail.com. No corrections this week, Swinny, I believe.
No corrections.
This is like
I'm just
how we open the show.
I'm off my game.
Actually,
but we'll get there.
There is a correction because I've been saying .emu for the publisher that does, the beat 'em ups and all those kind of things, and listening to the Nintendo Indie World, they call it Dotemu. It's like 3 syllables.
Dotemu. How do you spell it?
Dotemu. So I was reading it as .emu.
Ah.
Yeah.
It's the Aussie in you.
So there you go.
The Western.
Did you say it correctly, Swinny?
Wait, I
don't think he's ever said it.
There you go.
I don't hear him say it, yeah.
So quick updates before we get to what we've been playing, but I cannot believe we didn't mention this. I feel quite ashamed of myself that Analog, they had the Super NTs up for sale and the NT Mini Noirs just for a few hours in the case of the Super NTs, and then maybe about 12 hours for the NT Mini Noir. And Swinny, is there any updates on your end?
Yeah, I managed to score myself a Super NT.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're majority Analog boys now.
And I
2 out of 3.
Oh, man, just sitting there, like, trying to add to cart, and it's just like, it just has an error each time you try to add to cart. So I had Chrome open and I had Firefox open, and I'm like alternating.
Which
click,
one?
Click, and Chrome one out.
Yeah.
Because how long did it take you to add to cart?
Like 20 minutes.
So I don't know why, because I'm sick. I randomly was up at that time because it was about 1 a.m. Australian time. And I was like, I might jump onto this train of pretending I'm ordering it. And I saw that was that problem. And then I found that if you click it really quickly, it like overloaded it and would just add it to your cart within like a few seconds.
That's possibly, I was trying that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's how I ended up getting it to work eventually.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I'm incorrect. I think it was maybe about 10 minutes to get it to that. I was confusing that with the queue.
Oh.
So then they put you into a queue.
Yeah, I got around the queue, so.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm
not a dirty hacker like you. And I was in that queue for like 25 minutes or something.
Damn, son.
Damn.
It was pretty late. It was after 1 o'clock, and I'd had a pretty busy day. I was worried about falling asleep, and I'm like, I'm going to miss this. It's going to like load. I'm not going to do it, and then I'm going to miss. But no, I ended up getting it.
You got it. So you beat the bots.
And what did you get? Like what? Because Mike, there's a black Super NT. There's one that looks like the one that we had in Australia and Europe and also Japan. Mm-hmm. And then there's the US style. I'm guessing you didn't get the US style. Which one did you get, Swinny?
I got the best of them all.
The black one?
The black one, obviously.
Okay, you got the one that I got.
I got the Super Famicom, aka Power SNES look.
That's the right one.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
The right one.
That one's all right.
Yeah, they've. I just saw on Reddit that some people have already received theirs.
Yeah, I got a
in the US,
message.
though, I assume.
Yeah, I got a message saying mine should be next week sometime.
Oh, that's sick.
Awesome.
Cool. Looking forward to seeing it. And also, I should mention that the Analog Duo, which was announced last year in October, still isn't even up for pre-order. So I'm kind of doubting that's even going to come out this year. So
what does it do, the Duo?
So it's TurboGrafx PC Engine and like Turbo CD, all like these kind of, NEC consoles. Never came out in Australia, as far as I remember, Sony. but it was, you know, in Japan, big in Japan, and then the small market in the US. So
we covered it on the show, Mike, before you graced us with your presence. So I'll send you a link, and you will not watch it.
Before we lost our minds and added you to the show.
Sounds like a great plan. Yeah, I don't know what you guys were thinking. Not thinking.
Other quick updates. Picross
Could be something I slipped in your drinks. Who knows?
Another quick update. Picross S6 is coming out 22nd of April, which is just in a few days. I've still got backlog on other Picross games, but I love these games, and I know you do too, Swinny. The Blizzard Arcade Collection has added 2 games for free. So we had mentioned it before, and Swinny actually mentioned Lost Vikings 2 was a bit of a shame it wasn't in that collection. Well, now it is, Swinny. And RPM Racing.
And the biggest news?
So this is a funny one. So we mentioned the Animal Crossing Build-A-Bear thing, and as I said, it was about $75 Australia. So it's just like an Isabelle, $75, and then a Tom Nook, $75. Vooks, so the Australian Nintendo website, it's a really cool website. We've done a few reviews for them. They posted on Twitter, and I saw it. I was like working, and I saw this notification. Maybe it was like an hour later or something.
Working.
They're like on sale, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just grab it. It's sold out already. I was like, wow. Like, how
many did they have?
Dude, I don't know, but when I checked it, it looked like it sold out in 10 minutes.
Did you not listen to the warning from the US UK launch? You know, that thing sold out within an hour.
Dude, it sold out. I think they said in like 2 minutes in the US. Yeah. Like that was really insane. I don't know, but like sometimes it's not like that in Australia. And you know, mentally I was a bit like, how much am I really passionate about this? So sometimes I'll do that. Like with Fire Emblem 30th anniversary, I was like, should I buy it? Should I not? And then it got sold out, so I was kind of happy.
So it turns out it wasn't potential counterfeit amiibo cards that's going to cause a divorce. It's missing out on an Animal Crossing Build-A-Bear.
No, I don't think my wife knows too much about it, and she doesn't listen to the podcast. I've got this new idea because it's very hard to come up with birthday ideas. So I've got this new idea. Have you guys seen Cameo?
No.
So Cameo,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know Swinny would be across it.
That's like the wrestler's favorite income.
Yeah. So Mike, you got to jump on Cameo.com. You can. I'll give you permission to jump on it now.
Okay.
So basically, it's for C grade, generally C grade, D grade celebrities, and you can ask them for like say $50. Can you send a message to someone?
Okay, yeah. Who are you going to use?
So probably
Lily Allen.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to find someone that my wife would like, and I'll get them to do some kind of birthday message because she would love that kind of stuff. Whereas I would hate it with a passion.
There was a limited time Cameo offer where you could get The Undertaker to do the
Undertaker?
Yeah, it was limited. It was like only for like 50 cameos or something.
I just find it hilarious how much people price themselves. It's like quite a weird thing.
Well, let's see how much Rodman prices himself.
And I just want to have a quick question on the Cameo thing. So
$750.
Swinny, how much would you have to be paid for you to do the cameos?
Gotta find something cheaper.
Me?
Yeah. Everyone's got a price.
I don't know.
I'd do it for like $10.
Yeah, I know you would. You're a whore.
How long do you usually normally have to say something? It's like usually like 30 seconds.
Oh, it's like a minute or two most. Like it's pretty quick.
I don't know. Give me $50.
Really? Man, I feel like embarrassed. I think I'd be like 500 or something like that.
Jesus Christ. God, you put yourself on a pedestal.
No, it's not a pedestal. I don't want to do it. But then I think...
Well, I don't want to do it, but you asked me. I assumed it was a situation where I had to do it.
No, you don't have to. No, I'm saying...
And I had to price it.
I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm saying how much would you do it? If someone was like, hey, I'm going to give you $50, would you do it? Because I wouldn't do it if they said it's $50. I'm like, I'm not going to look at some video, record some video and send it to someone. It's so like awkward.
Why not?
Dude, I don't even like calling
$50 you wouldn't
people.
Do it.
Mike would do it for free.
Mike said $10.
I would do it for free. I'll do it for your wife for free.
Add yourself to
Cameo. I will do your wife for free. I'm telling you this right now. If you want to, I will do it for free.
Mike, can you please add yourself on Cameo as a big weekend gaming celebrity and then just charge $1? Just charge $1.
Sure, I will.
This is how we'll build our channel.
That's my project this week.
Yeah, can you please do it? If you do it, I'll join and get your first Cameo. I'll pay for the first Cameo, okay?
It's proof. It's me.
Maybe I'll just cover quickly what I've been playing. So I said last week LA Noire. So this week I've been getting stuck in Deus Ex Human Revolution. So I'm about maybe 2/3 the way through that game.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It didn't click at all. And I said I was playing and it was starting to click. I'm actually like really into that game now. Like just rolling with it. It's real fun.
Once you get out of the first kind of like location, I think that's where the game really picks up.
I think it's also like these kind of games, I don't generally do the whole stealth thing, but the game does have a nice, like we don't want to cover it too deeply, obviously, but the game does give
Save it for the podcast.
Good incentives to do the stealth stuff. So it kind of naturally gets you doing those things, which is really fun, the way that they do it. They don't force you. I really like the way it's been balanced and designed. And then Skyrim, I'm about 80% the way through the main quest. And then I'll just start like playing random. I don't have so much time. And then I'll just do some random stuff. Like
I reckon you wrote a bot to play it for you.
Yeah, I could.
I just don't think I could play it that much.
I'm really going through these games quickly. I'm not like smelling the roses like I normally do in these games. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So that's me. How about you, Mike? What have you been playing?
LA Noire. That's pretty much it. And I didn't even.
Well, you were covering it, so you finished it, right?
Well, no, I haven't. That's the problem. And I actually spent as much time as I possibly could this week, which admittedly wasn't a lot of time.
But you played it before, right?
I did, but I got further than I did last time. So look, I'm probably like 80% of the way through. I've never beaten it, no. But we'll talk about that in a sec as well. And I got back into Cyberpunk, so I played that a little bit, not too much. And I actually started Deus Ex as well. So
nice.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to maybe in a year's time playing Cyberpunk.
It'd be a different game. I think you're going to love it.
Yeah. And how about you, Swinny?
So I actually went to try and remind myself how LA Noire feels a bit, and then found out that game's not backwards compatible. So
really,
no, it's
so you didn't play it.
Well, I've beaten the game before, so
yeah, but
I went to this week.
We're different people
to
now,
play
man. We've changed.
But unfortunately, I'm like, okay, well then I kind of refreshed myself on a lot of the narrative stuff more so than anything. But yeah, so for this week...
I just got this image, Swinny, of you throwing it in the bin. You're just like, oh, okay. Just throw the disc in the bin. It's not backwards compatible.
So I've been very laser focused on my third gaming resolution, which is the 250 RPG completions. Yep. So
how's that going?
Well, I've notched another 2 completions on there this week. So the first is a game that I started a little while back, but I was only like an hour in, and then picked up and then put about 15 hours into it, which is a game I absolutely adore called Cat Quest 2.
Oh, you're into that.
You did tell me about it, because I started playing number 1, and then you're like, oh, play number 2.
So yeah, Cat Quest 2, when I first played it, probably about 2 months ago, I thought, oh, this is neat. But then since I picked it back up and got far into it and obviously completed 100% of it, man, I love that game so much. It's so cool. It's a game that I think a lot of people will dismiss just based on not only the name, but also just like looking on, let's say on the Nintendo eStore. They're like, okay, that looks like some, shovelware kind of game. It's not. It's got a lot of depth to it. It's really, really awesome. For anyone who doesn't know, it's like a top-down action RPG, kind of like a neat mix between Zelda and Diablo a bit. Like I initially thought it was more like a Diablo-style game, but then realize it's a bit more like a traditional action RPG. Like it does play like Zelda, but it is an RPG in that sense. It's got like actual like leveling and everything like that. But essentially, you've got 2 characters at any time. So there's a dog and a cat character. I think the first cat quest was just a I believe the first game was just the cat.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Yes. Yeah. And you can swap between them at any time. So that means essentially you have 2 builds that you can manage at any time. As I said, the game is about 15 to 20 hours if you want to do everything. The story is actually really, really cool. Like, I was shocked. And the whole game is nothing but cat puns and dog puns.
Nice.
So if you love puns, it's just
I love puns, I love cats, and I love dogs.
Like there's puns, like there's a cat version of Gordon Ramsay, there's puns around a Doge coin and all that stuff.
What's the name of the Gordon Ramsay cat?
I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. I think it's like Porden Firmsy or something like that. Like, but the thing's the whole right. but the whole quest. The thing is it's him because he's like saying fake cuss words and he's wanting you to get his like.
What are you, an idiot sandwich?
So I highly, highly recommend it. The second game that I played this week, which I was planning on reviewing, but it's been a bit of a busy week, is a game that I'll send you guys clips from. And the first clip, Mike's like, what is that? Is that like some dodgy Skyrim or something like that? And you pretty much nailed it. So the game that I played this week was called Ravensword Shadowlands.
Ravensword Shadowlands.
It actually came out last week or like 8 days ago or something. But it is actually a port. So that was on Xbox and other consoles, I believe, as well. It was actually originally an Android game released back in 2013.
Okay. So they like updated, polished it and stuff, or is it the same game as back then?
Look, they've definitely made changes to it to make it more of a console game, and it runs pretty well, but
you'd hope
when you look at any of the footage...
On a Series X.
Hey,
it's like 10 years old.
From an Android game from 2013.
That's the whole thing. It's like, I wouldn't put it past
30 FPS.
some of these budget games to still run like crap. But it caught my eye because, as I said, I'm really focusing on these RPG completions, and it's published by Rata Laika Games, or I think that's how you say it. And they are...
What else do they do?
They are one of... I'm not going to get into what else they do. I'll just explain
what they do.
The reason why people buy their games. They are the king of easy achievement games.
Of course.
Cheating.
Of course.
Can we lobby True
we
Achievements? He's like lobbying them to change games into RPGs when they shouldn't be.
Yeah. You haven't let me explain. So I've never actually played a game by them before because they have never released an RPG. And I saw this one and I'm like, that really looks like an RPG, but it hasn't been categorized yet because it's just come out. So
here we go.
So I bought it, and 100% it is. So it's pretty much
And what have you done? Have you lobbied True Achievements to make it an RPG?
I've put in a disagreement.
There we go. Look at it.
No, sorry. I haven't put in a disagreement. I've voted like everyone does it.
Terrible.
Basically, the way it works on True Achievements is if you get the game on your game card, which means you unlock one achievement within the first, I think it's 15 days or so, you then are able to vote, and it's community voting. So
that makes sense. It's a good system.
But it's basically like a D game version of Skyrim, and honestly, it's kind of charming in many ways. Like, it's crap, but it's kind of the kind of crap where it's kind of fun in the same way. It's like,
I can picture that.
Is this the one where you had the sword on the outside of your character's model? Like on the hand?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, it was like
with the dinosaurs and shit.
Yeah, and the dinosaurs appearing out of nowhere.
Literally out of nowhere.
And I got the inventory to wrap around on itself because it's like a horizontal scrolling inventory, and suddenly all the potions were overlaying with all the armor and everything.
I had a really weird moment with Deus Ex Human Revolution where a character T-posed and then started like levitating across the playing field and then merged into like a relaxed pose, like he was always meant to be there. And I couldn't capture it in time. I was like laughing my ass off.
Are you sure you weren't playing Cyberpunk?
No, that's what I thought. I was going to take a video of it and show you guys and go, look at this Cyberpunk Human Revolution. Anyway, go on.
So this game, it actually has physics puzzles, which I was like, wow, like halfway through the game, they're throwing this out there. And they default it to inverted horizontal camera. Who does that? Who defaults to that? But
a shout out to our friend Chris.
Hey, he doesn't play horizontal inverted. Just
vertical?
I
don't know. So horizontal to someone who probably does it horizontal as well.
No one does that. That's not even an analog to anything.
No, well, it makes sense, I guess, on a phone because you're like
on a phone.
Well, yeah, because you're kind of like swiping in a direction.
Why, Swinny?
That's probably why.
Yeah, shit. That's so lazy.
That doesn't make sense enough. No.
So that game beat in about 4 hours. So definitely super easy completion.
Nice. So wait, 1,000 points in 4 hours?
That's like $8.
That's how much he pays for these achievements.
He pays for achievements now. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I didn't even know if it was an RPG. So part of me, I was more I actually want... No, I actually have done that quite often. It's kind of like taking one for the community a bit. You're like, okay, I'm going to play this game because no one else seems to be playing it and just decide.
It's got a bad game.
No, and put in, hey, this is what I think it is, whether it is or it isn't.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of people in the community who do that.
I love how he's willing to do this for random people on True Achievements, but he won't review stuff on the show.
What do you mean? I review stuff all the time on the show.
Well, like, buy this game and do it for the show. And you're like, no, I'll buy it in a year's time when it's cheaper.
I think I've done more reviews than any of you guys on the play show, so you can shut your mouth.
That's true.
Yeah, but he only did reviews on RPGs that you were going to play anyway.
So that is not true. I've reviewed more than RPGs on the show. But anyway, let me just finish up. So that brings me up to, in my goal, 18 out of 31. So getting there. And the last game I just want to mention was a game that is a sequel. Well, it's a third of a trilogy to a game that I love. And the game is Steven Universe, Unleash the Light.
Okay.
So are you guys aware of Steven Universe?
No.
I'm going to look it up now.
So Steven Universe is a very popular cartoon show.
Is this with a PH? Is this Stepan?
With a V.
Okay.
And what they've done is, over the years, Grumpy Face Studios have made 3 RPG games based on this.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
based on this franchise.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to the first one. I've only played. So the first one was Attack the Light. Then they made Seek the Light, and this is Steven Universe Unleash the Light. And the second game in this game, they're fantastic. They're very Paper Mario-ish. So the second game, Seek the Light, pretty much was like that, mixed with, I guess, the way you traverse around the town, similar to like your South Park Stick of Truth and that. But this one is very different. Instead of controlling the characters directly, you're essentially just pressing up, down, left, right to move the entire screen, like, one at a time. Like, you move, you're just pressing up to move to the next screen, down to the next screen, whatever. And you use the right analog stick to then scan the environment to find secrets and things. And then when you're in battles, that's when it's more like your Paper Mario, South Park, Stick of Truth style, where it's turn-based, but then, it's action-based as well with the, you're blocking attacks, things like that, like timing it all right. Really, really cool game. I'll probably review it next week if I complete it in time, because it's, I'm really loving it.
Nice.
No Kemco games this week?
No Kemco.
None were released.
No. Well, I've still got the other one I'm going to finish off.
COVID-19's finally hit Kemco.
Kemco 19.
Kemco 19.
Hey, in case you guys are wondering, Lily Allen's doing it for only $250.
Okay, and in context, cameo. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our first bit of news. So during the week, we had the Nintendo Indie World Showcase. So this kind of came out of nowhere, as it normally does with Nintendo. And we're probably just going to go through the highlights of some of the games that caught our eye. I actually am going to change up your order a little bit, Swinny. Do you want to start with TMT Shredder's Revenge? So a game that got announced last month. It wasn't clear what platforms it was actually going to come to, but now we know it's coming to PC, to Switch, obviously, and then other platforms seem inevitable as well. Is this like a day one purchase for you, Swinny?
No, definitely not day one.
Oh, okay.
But
I wanted to play it. I wanted to play co-op with you guys.
I mean, like, before, I buy more games like on day one than I ever have doing this show.
Yeah, that's true.
But still, like, I'm not the kind of person who generally buys day one.
Hey, you bought that shit game with dinosaurs for $8 on launch.
Your point?
Why don't you buy this so we can play it together?
Okay, well, let's talk about the game.
Okay, fine.
And was the reference to you not eating your hat, was that a reference to saying that it's guaranteed to come out on Switch?
Yeah, that's all it was. So basically I said if it doesn't come out on Switch or is not announced to Switch, I'll eat part of a hat. Okay. And that's all it was. So excited. I actually messaged you guys like after 1:00 in the morning when this thing was streaming. Hey, hooray, I don't need to eat part of a hat, with no context at all.
And I thought that was a totally normal message for you. I didn't even really think about it. But how good does this game look, man? The animation looks incredible. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it.
That's the only reason I want to mention. I just wanted to bring up the fact that
okay,
that
he doesn't eat the hat.
I'm scot-free. I'm all good.
Yeah, no, it's good that it got announced. It seems like they'll bring it into a Xbox showcase and a PlayStation State of Play as well at some stage to announce it's on that platform as well. One of the games that I wanted to call out, and I don't think you guys thought much of this game, is The Longing.
I did.
Oh, you did. Sorry, apologies.
I thought I put it as a...
Yeah, you did the t-shirting thing so late that I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
So, like, one thing is, I do love games that... And we do have a story about it a bit later. Games that are not just games, but they do something that you couldn't do in any other medium. And they take advantage of the medium itself. So, like, I think it's quite an interesting game. It was based on, and the developers, German developer actually spoke about the reasoning or, like, where he came up with the idea. But essentially, it's about a folklore and an underground king that was there for hundreds of years. But the idea of the game is that the game actually takes place from the moment you start playing it, continues on for 400 real-time days. And so if you walk away from the game, come back, it's, time passes as it does in your real world.
That's so cool.
And just like digging into this game, I like the more I looked into it, because it's it's actually already out on Steam. It's actually quite weird, like what they're doing with it. There's like multiple endings to this game. So people have like hacked it and seen what the endings are. And
that's just
I don't want to
ruining
know.
the fun.
It is. I don't even want to know
100%
about
is
it.
ruining the fun, right?
I almost don't want to know anything about it other than the minimal stuff you're talking, because I actually want to grab this.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin it because I might grab it as well because I want to go on the 400-day journey. Right?
Same.
But
we'll go on it together.
It's I just say it's like brutal, this game. Like there's multiple ways it can end, and I was just like, wow, okay, it's interesting.
Cool.
And then I didn't
anything.
look too much into it, so I don't really fully know.
Good.
And the other bit is, and this is why I love this developer, that they've actually put up a trailer, and it's a 4-hour trailer.
What?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Wow.
I sent it to you.
That's awesome.
It's a 4-hour trailer. And it's just like the characters doing something. And it's all like just footage from the actual game because that's how the game is.
I thought he would have made it 400 minutes. That would have been... I can't click it anyway, but thanks.
So like the idea of it is like, hey, you exist in this world and you can do things. So one thing that you can do in this game, in the game itself, as time passes, you can read the entire book of Moby Dick. Like it has all the text in the game.
Wow.
Like you can read through it. And I think you get like unlocks if you do some of this stuff.
Huh.
And then there's weird shit.
Do that.
There's weird shit in the game where it's like, you're waiting for a spider to come down. And if you grab the spider, you can explore more of the cave. But the spider can take like weeks to come down. And you have to like, when you see it, you have to go get it. It looks really fascinating. I love it. To me, it's more just like art plus a game.
Yeah, this is so unique.
And I love that kind of stuff. Like it actually
Same.
inspired me to go, because Mike and I have to publish a game, and I had this crazy idea for a game because I'm like, I gotta do something really small because I've got barely any time, right? And I had this crazy idea for a small game that's really different. So maybe I'll talk to you about it, Mike.
Okay.
Better hurry up.
Yeah, I know. We're off to a bad start.
Oh my god,
we're
already
certainly
April.
firmly in the disappointing realm for that. All right, do you want to do
and the only people we're really disappointed is ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Do you want to do the third one, Swinny?
Yeah, so we had Getsufumiden, Undying Moon, which is actually
cool.
It's a new Konami published game, not developed by them, but it's a remake of one of their Famicom games from 1987, which is an action platformer. And it seems like they're taking, what was more a traditional kind of, just platforming game and adding some more like Metroidvania and also roguelike elements. And I know often those two don't kind of seem counter kind of to each other, but I don't know exactly, but maybe possibly, I think they talk about dungeons kind of being, like having that roguelike element to it, so it's potentially
like randomly generated kind of thing?
Yeah, it's potentially you go into the dungeons and it's like that. I'm not sure. But also people throw around the term Metroidvania without like proper usage all the time, so who knows?
I've done that before.
But it's got a very cool art style, like an ukiyo-e Japanese art style, kind of like a
It looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks neat.
Really
and
cool art style, yeah.
It's actually available. It's coming out on Steam Early Access next month, May the 13th, and it's coming out next year on Switch. And anyone that buys the Steam Early Access version will actually get apparently a copy of the Famicom original. to play, I guess, on Steam. So that's pretty neat.
Mm.
Yeah, thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. They're still making games, Konami. It's just they're not making AAA games at the moment.
Yeah, well, this even is out of their recent wheelhouse because a lot of their recent games have been things that were like collections or like things that you'd expect them to do, like your Pro Evolution Soccer and stuff. So to kind of come out with this is a bit of against what they were recently doing, which is great.
Yeah.
We need more games from Konami.
No, that makes sense. And the next one was Aztec Forgotten Gods.
Yeah, I think this game looks absolutely fantastic. So it's coming essentially to pretty much every platform, and I believe it's Q4 this year. And it's set in this kind of like cyber Aztec world, and I just think it looks fantastic. The gameplay looks really, really solid. Looks like it's got a good mix of like character action with like traversal where they're running along walls and stuff. But just the look of it, I just think the world looks fantastic. It's developed by the developers that made Malacca. So yeah, it's I think this looks great.
I think some of these games, like, and I thought especially with this game, I loved the way it looked and everything. It's like the game feel that, you know, I'd either need to hear people play it and go, it feels really tight. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like a really tight control game plus this kind of design would be really, really cool. And that's always the thing with these games. Like you don't get that from this kind of presentation. The other one was a House of the Dead remake. So, like, I don't know. House of the Dead... Like games, it's such a shame just because of the technology. And quick story on that, actually, because you know that I'm a huge nerd, so I've got my Super NT hooked up into a CRT TV. So I've got a really good Trinitron, like a nice sized Trinitron, like not one of those huge ones. So it looks really crisp. And for the first time ever, my son, who's about 3.5, I'm like, hey, he's never seen this. I'll go, I'll turn it on. Do you want to see what I played when I was like little like you? And this is no joke. I'm being legit. You can ask my wife. I turned it on and everything like that. Boot up Donkey Kong Country, Diddy Kong's Quest. And he's like, wow. He actually said wow. He never says wow. He's so like, cool. This is so cool. He goes, oh, this is cool. And then I go, what do you want? Because we have the flat screen TV right next to the CRT TV. I go, which TV do you want? This one or that one? And he pointed to the CRT.
The Trinitron.
And I shed a tear and I said, he is my son. So yeah, like it's a big shame that with, you know, CRTs and then transitioning into flat screens. And
do you reckon they'll come back? Do you reckon it'll be like records?
No, because of the input latency. You just can't do it.
Of a CRT?
No, on a flat screen TV.
No. What I'm saying is, do you think CRTs are going to come back? We're going to see it come back.
CRTs are extremely toxic. The development, like how you make them, there's a lot of toxic material. They have a lot of toxic material in them themselves.
Okay, but there's no way to like make them cleaner. Kind of like, you know how record players are back.
Yeah, but they're not toxic, right? Like,
well, vinyl's not.
They're super
toxic,
heavy,
but
they're super heavy for like the volume that they take up.
But surely someone's gonna be like, you know what? We can make a new version of the CRT.
Look, to be honest, I hope it happens, but
it'll be cool.
The factories, because, you know, I don't know, this is a real huge diversion, but, you know, sometimes when you go to make, you know, a piece of silicon, for example, like a semiconductor or something like that, you need like literally a $10 billion factory to build that,
I read it was 15 to 18 billion today.
Okay,
but yeah.
I'm saying like 10, like, you know, that's the ballpark, right? So in the end, like the CRT factories, they were really insanely expensive to produce very accurate cathode ray tubes, and like Sony, they've lost the patent on the Trinitron technology, but like it's there's just no money in it. There's no money in it because you can still get CRTs relatively cheap. They've gone up in price a lot, to be honest. I was looking the other day, and they're like hundreds of dollars now, CRTs. Because I was thinking about buying some extra to put in my garage.
Probably be thousands soon.
Well, they're all running out, right? Like, and they're getting
exactly.
And stuff, so
limited amounts and limited parts to fix them. And...
So, like, looking at like House of the Dead,
House of the Dead,
I don't know how they like the big thing, Swinny. Like, is like how is it going to control? Is it going to be like
touchscreen? Tap.
Nah, well, it's the Switch, right? So you think it would be the pointer controls? Do you think so, Swinny?
Yeah. So apparently there's going to be co-op in it, so it makes sense for people to be able to use the Joy-Con separately for 2 players. But yeah, this is something that we'd known about but we hadn't seen yet. So this is developed by Megapixel Studio, but it's published by Forever Entertainment, who we covered a few weeks ago as part of the fact that they'd signed up with Square Enix to develop remakes on one of their IPs.
Good connection.
And this studio, Megapixel Studio, were the ones that made the Panzer Dragoon remake. And they are also a remake. They've already announced, they announced at the same time that they're also remaking the sequel to House of the Dead, but they only showed the first one. So, yeah, and this is coming out this year. I mean, I can't say it looked fantastic or anything. I love House of the Dead, but also it's kind of arcade games. Or if you talk about like rose-tinted glasses, every arcade game has rose-tinted glasses to me. Like playing House of the Dead 2 in the arcade, like that game looked amazing at the time, but I don't know how it would match up these days. I
saw it the other day. Like those games still hold up. Like
they hold up, but it's you need that.
No, exactly. Really no, that's the big thing. And that what was it, about 4 franchises that with the shooter franchises? So Point Blank, Time Crisis, Virtua Cop, and House of the Dead. They were just like insane. So sick. It's so cool.
But it's the physical equipment that made them so cool. I played those games on other mediums, and it's just not the same.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Typing of the Dead was really cool.
That is a really cool idea.
That was really cool. I love that.
That's a really cool idea. So they had for their one last thing. So it was kind of weird for Nintendo. They were wrapping up the whole Indie Direct, and then like it kind of cut halfway through, and they revealed Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals. Have you actually played the first one, Swinny?
So I've played parts of it.
Yeah.
And I look, it's really, really cool. It's one of those games you have to kind of be in a mood to play because it's very narrative driven, and it's the kind of thing where you want to sit down and play through it kind of almost in one go, or like across a couple of playthroughs, because it's it's not a very long game by all accounts. But this was the biggest new announcement they dropped, because I don't think anyone had heard about this, or at least
definitely
none of the major outlets. So it's really, really cool get. We don't know if it's exclusive to Switch or not, but they have said it's coming out this year. So
I gotta play the first one now.
It's kind of weird the way they revealed it, because I don't think it was really obvious that it was Oxenfree 2 for people who aren't
it was
into
right at
Oxenfree.
The end and
So I don't know if it really helped them in the way they structured it. It was cool to have a one last thing, but yeah, I've got this game. I just feel that these kind of games, personally, I can't play too many of them. Like I'll play, What Remains of Edith Finch, and then I feel like I'm spent on those games for a couple of years. There's just something about those games that just never gripped me that much. And then the last one, I think the one that we're all kind of excited about to varying degrees.
Yes.
And I think one of us already has bought it. Have they?
Yes,
in the middle?
have.
What is it, Mike?
The moment I heard it, it's Fez.
And how did you discover it? Obviously, very diligently watching this,
totally
doing the show, everything.
Yeah, absolutely diligently. I had no freaking idea it came out in this. Totally missed it. It was actually kind of semi hidden in a way. They didn't even really talk about it much.
I know.
Which is a real shame. It's because I've been ranting on to you guys for a while now, I think, that it would be perfect to release Fez on the Switch. It would feel like such a perfect coupling of a game and a piece of technology, having that in your hand. And finally they did it. So cool. It's
on mobile, don't you?
No.
But you wouldn't want to play it on mobile.
I know, but he said have it in your hands. I was just clarifying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's no. I just think the Switch is a perfect platform for a game like this. So, by the way, for people who don't know what Fez is, so it's made by Polytron, and it originally came out. How long ago was that? Like 9 years ago or something?
Yeah, 9 years.
Yeah, because it's had its 9th anniversary.
I'll give the audience a bit of a behind the scenes. So Swinny extremely diligently takes very amazing notes. And then I think I refer to them a lot, and every now and then I'd miss something that's in there. Mike never looks at it.
No, because I don't want to look like I'm just reading notes.
What? How long ago was it? And literally, Swinny's got it just had its 9th anniversary of the original Xbox 360.
I didn't want to look like I'm reading notes. All right, I'll read the notes. So it's had its 9th anniversary of the original 360 release, which both Swinny and I played back in the day and loved to bits. I don't want to spoil anything about it, but play the damn game.
I haven't played it yet.
Oh man, play it. It's so cool. And let's just say it very strongly encourages you, more than I think any other game that I've ever played, to do New Game Plus.
Oh,
Can't say why, but trust me.
Don't tell me.
It's crazy.
It's on sale at the moment.
It's on sale. I mean, look, it's 10% off, I think, at the moment.
A couple of bucks.
But
it's worth $18.90, right?
Oh, easy in my opinion. Yeah, it's an amazing game.
And it was a part of the indie game, the movie documentary, which was absolutely lightning in the bottle. The fact that they were following these studios and they went on to make 3 very significant indie games.
Very, very.
Like, if you only had those 3 games in that era and said, these are the only games you can pick, that's a pretty good, like, grouping, a good trio. So,
yeah.
Are you going to get this again, Swinny?
No, because I repurchased it on Steam and I didn't replay it through there. So
I have it on Steam as well.
Yeah, but just to buy it again, just for another version. For me,
yeah, but this is like the version to get.
For me, the magic of Fez is the first time you play through the game.
I guess, yeah.
So I think that it is still great, probably to replay, but the magic is in the discovery.
That
true. Is all I'm going to say.
But it's been 10 years and I have a really shit memory, so I'm hoping that...
I wouldn't remember
like
everything.
Discovering anything anyway, so...
But it's just like that... Yeah, that is the magic of that game. And it plays well, controls well, but it is figuring out what is going on in that world that is what really is... That's the great part of it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And remember the fox, is all I will say.
And, just to amazingly bring everything together with my discussion about analog, something you'll discover soon, Swinny, is that Phil Fish, the main guy, let's be real, behind Fez, the main dude, actually created the boot up animation for Analog Super NT.
Huh. I did know that, but thank you for reminding me.
Oh, look at this smug bastard. We should have mentioned it.
Look at this bastard assuming I don't know something that's pretty common knowledge.
It's pretty common knowledge that Phil Fish did the boot up animation for the Analog Super NT. Yeah, that's real common knowledge.
Of course. Let me just ask my government. Hey, babe. Oh yeah, it was actually Phil Fish. How did you know? Turns out it is common knowledge.
All right. Overall, like, I thought this was a pretty good showcase. Actually, it's probably one of the best indie showcases.
It was, and you know what? I was going to put an interest in a bunch of other things, but I didn't because in the interest of time. So there were actually like probably another 3 or 4 games on there that I will grab that aren't even on the list that we spoke about.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next story. Is Square Enix up for sale?
No.
So we had recent reports from Bloomberg Japan that hinted of the potential sale for Square Enix. So as we've seen over the last year or two, there's been a massive consolidation in the video game space. The largest being Bethesda being purchased by Microsoft, but there's been a lot of activity in the mobile space as well. Square Enix is a big player in the mobile division as well. I think it's about 25% of their P&L at the moment, which is quite significant and growing. We had this report come through. So it actually originally came through, I think it was CFTN. So they basically do M&A activity, which is quite important for the markets to, get reports.
Can you explain for the general listener what P&L and M&A?
Yeah, what's
are?
P&L?
Oh, well, I thought it's all
what they are.
I thought it was
but
all common knowledge. I thought it was all
What's a
common
P&L?
knowledge.
No,
I don't know what a
it's not.
P&L
So,
is.
analog and Super NT's boot up animation, that's quite a common knowledge. So P&L, so profit and loss. So once you take all the revenue of the company and deduct the losses, you're left with a profit.
Hey, babe, do you know what penal is?
What was the other thing I said,
P&L.
Swinny? I don't even know.
M&A.
Oh, mergers and acquisitions. So that's a whole space in the markets which refers to, investing, divesting, merging, hostile takeovers, all this kind of stuff. So any activity around changing the ownership of a company and who owns it, who doesn't own it, things like that. So Square's share price actually jumped up really aggressively. I think it peaked at 15% prior to announcement. And then they actually were forced to bring out a statement. So in their statement, I read it quickly in full. Bloomberg has reported today that there is interest from several buyers to acquire Square Enix. However, this report is not based on any announcement by Square Enix Holdings Company Limited we do not consider selling off the company or any of its businesses, nor have we received any offer from any third parties to acquire the company or any part of its business. So, Mike, you're not a buyer of Square Enix or this story.
I'll give him $350 for it.
So, what do you make of all of this?
So, I think that there's been companies that are putting the feelers out, and that's where this story's come from, because this is essentially like PR 101. This is like what they call it, like a non-denial denial or something.
Yeah.
So it's basically, it's like they don't want to deny. It's like it's worded just like all PR. It's worded very carefully, but in this case, it's worded very carefully so that if it turns out that there are offers that come to light, they don't look like they've lied.
Well, like the thing is,
outright, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if there's no interest, they can actually also say that. There's nothing actually against the law or regulations for them to say there are no parties that are interested in purchasing Square Enix. But they didn't say that, right?
Tell us what they said.
Well, it's simple. They said that they haven't received any offer. Right.
So they said, this is the wording from Bloomberg, right? We do not consider selling off the company or any of its businesses, nor have we received any offer from any third party to acquire the company or any part of its business.
Sure. Just clarify, that's not the wording from Bloomberg. That's exactly what the state said.
That's what the
state Square Enix's PR statement. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, people could have still approached them.
Yeah, but
right?
Companies also can say that we don't want to be sold, but companies can just buy them out from under them. They can go to shareholders and say, we're going to buy it for $10 more. Do you want to sell? And they can buy the whole thing. That happens all the time. Because it's a public company. That's the risk of having a public company. Essentially, someone could just go on the market and buy all the shares and go, well, I own the company now. I'm taking it over. And that's happening more and more so with especially Chinese companies, and then also a lot of Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds that they have so much money that it's like nothing to them. And Square, although Square's worth a lot, it's probably not, it maybe even Bethesda money, which is amazing. Look, the thing is, in 2 months' time, if Square's bought, this statement is still not incorrect. They haven't lied in the statement. Because an offer would never come early. Offers always come late in the process.
But they're saying that they weren't considering it, so it was almost like a hostile takeover.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Like you could get a Tencent, buy them out. Easy.
That's it. That leads me into my question.
Well, yeah, the who's. Yeah.
And I was going to ask, do you think it's possible that Tencent, because I don't see people talking about that with this.
Tencent will be the number 1, 2, 3 for me.
And it's weird because you read it, everyone's like, oh, Microsoft, Sony. It's like Tencent are the people buying up so much stuff more than... Obviously, Microsoft's been buying big, but Tencent for years has been making so many acquisitions.
But they're mostly, I thought, acquisitions in multiplayer / gambling / that kind of space, where Square Enix, a lot of their huge IPs are... I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because they have the IP. You can use it for whatever you want.
Tencent's been doing a lot of mobile stuff, and Square's really aggressively pushing into mobile.
I guess they have been.
So, and they've got a massive IP list that they could take more advantage of.
Square's one of the worst when it comes to microtransactions and mobile.
That's a fair point, actually. So maybe it's a perfect fit. There you go, Tencent.
I agree with where you're coming from, Swinny. It's like, it feels very one-dimensional thinking. And, we're saying this, and you know what? A month's time, Microsoft's bought Square. But it feels very one-dimensional thinking, just going, either Sony will buy them. Number one, Sony doesn't have a lot of money. Like, they're worth a lot, and they could buy them. But to me, from a business perspective, what do they gain from buying Square? Like, the only argument could be potentially as a defensive maneuver to prevent someone else buying them and locking them out. And then you go, Microsoft buys them, but that doesn't make sense either. It's not like if they buy them, everyone's going to start buying Xbox in Japan. It's just not going to happen.
The only thing, and I think this would be like, this is very far-fetched, but is, the power play to kind of, some people are saying, and I don't agree with this, but that as a move to try to get Game Pass onto the PlayStation.
That's never going to happen.
How would that happen? Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, by essentially taking Square properties and putting them on Game Pass.
Yeah, I don't know if that's your view, but I think that's
no. I just said it's not my view, but
Okay.
that's a common view that's out there. At the moment.
Look, I think like they have a shitload of IP and games, right? So if they did buy them, that's a stack of games that go on Game Pass. Again, I still look at the whole thing and I go, for me, it would make way more sense for Microsoft to buy Ubisoft, and they'd probably be priced at about the same. Because that is something that where people would go, oh, maybe I'm going to buy an Xbox instead of a PlayStation if all the Ubisoft games are coming out to Xbox instead of PlayStation.
Yeah.
I don't see the other way around.
IPs.
Like, I don't really see it. Like, the Japanese market, they're just never going to go Xbox. Like, Xbox 360 did not do well in Japan, and that was like the pinnacle for Xbox. So, but yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't think they'll be purchased. But there's a hell of a lot of M&A activity going on at the moment. So you just wonder stuff like Konami is the one that really interests me. Like, is Konami going to try to sell their IP or maybe have a licensing agreement around their IP? And there's a lot of rumors about that, which we don't typically get into. All right, let's get into our next story. PlayStation 5 has had its first big update in April, and there are new ways to store games. Share with people on the PS4, which is quite critical given that it's impossible to get a PS5, and a whole host of other things. So for me, as someone who... I'm not running out of space. I'm not sure if you're running out of space on your PS5, Mike.
Not even using it.
That's terrible. But yeah, like this is a really cool idea. So effectively, if you have the correct external USB drive... you can actually shift games from the active M2 storage on the PS5 onto the external drive. And it's not any external drive. It's actually specific external drives.
But big asterisks.
Well, yeah, no, as always, you cannot play them off the external drive. They've always been really clear that you can never play it off an external drive. And the thing that disturbed me, I guess, a little bit was that they're still saying the M2 drive storage will be announced in the future. And we're like, what is it now? Like 7 months from when it launched? No, about 6 maybe, 5 to 6 months since we launched. And we still don't know when you're able to install a drive into that M2 slot that's inside of the PlayStation 5.
Look, I get where different people would come from and different use cases. And I know some people just want to install a whole bunch of stuff for whenever randomly they might want to pick it up and play it. And, the PlayStation 5 doesn't even have... it's not even like a full terabyte. I think you're only left with 700 something? But afterwards you're only left with 700 something after the system... system and everything else. So
I think,
it's not a lot. And if I'm not mistaken, a game like... and sorry, Swinny. A game like the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales is like 170 gigs or something from memory.
Well, I think that's a weird one because they have
it is a weird one.
Spider-Man and then the full Miles Morales thing.
Yeah. But it's still, I
think Call of Duty is the one though, because that's a huge game.
Of course, that was a huge one.
Like both in terms of like sales, popularity, and then just the size. It's farcical.
That's what I was going to say. It's because it's those kind of games that people often struggle with this because they want them installed on the off chance that someone says, "Oh, do you want to play that tonight?"
Yeah, jump on.
Yeah.
So you're really left with what, like only 2/3 of your total storage if you have a game like that. So I can kind of see why people would want that. I can also see why you can't use the cold storage because speed wise, you're not going to get the same capability that an M.2 drive internally does.
Yeah.
So I kind of get why they won't let you do that. So it's kind of like that. It's bridging that gap where you don't have to re-download everything. And there's a lot of people who don't have fast internet connections, and you might sit there for like a whole day downloading a freaking game. Whereas now you download it, back it up on your cold storage via the USB drive, and if you want to play it again, it's a hell of a lot quicker than downloading the whole game again.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect. It's not the perfect ideal solution, but I think it's still a pretty good step in ticking a bunch of boxes off for people.
Yeah, it's just like let's be real. The Xbox just dominates the PlayStation in this space
because they already have the expandable.
And it's just so much easier. You just plug it straight in the back.
Yeah.
And they've already shown that they don't have any heating issue with it. Yeah, but if you look at the price of it versus even the M2 drives of those specs, It's not like
It's not super bad.
It's not egregious.
There's a premium on it, but it's not super bad.
And you have to also say, for the convenience of it just being able to plug straight in the back, it's actually plug and play as well. That's the amazing thing. If you had two of them, you can actually pull it out and put another one in when the console's on and switch it out.
That part I didn't know.
So, like, and they've also said that they're going to allow other manufacturers to make those expansion cards. So I think for sure the Xbox One is far superior to the PlayStation ones, because the other one, everyone's really worried, and people do speculate that this is a reason why they haven't got announcements yet, is because the way that the heatsink and the fan is structured in the PlayStation 5, the spot where the M2 drive goes, it's so hot already.
Yeah,
like
you
normally.
Mentioned that before, yeah. And they get very hot already.
Yeah, oh, they get insane. Like, they get well over 100 degrees.
Super hot. On PCs and stuff, like my current PC, it needs to have a heatsink in order to actually be properly efficient.
So, I don't know. I wonder if there's something weird that's happening there where they've actually tried it, and, you know, it only takes like 1 in 100 to fail for it to have a huge problem. Yeah. For out there for a lot of people. So,
and if you're letting people upgrade their own drives, you can't control what they put in there either. So they could get some cheap shit.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, look, they're generally good drives. You know, there's no manufacturer that really makes completely crap drives, but still, you can't control that. So,
yeah, and we're getting a lot of other quality of life things, and I think because of the pandemic, the shortage in chips, they probably had to double down on connectivity between PS4 and PS5. Like, we get comments from people still to this day saying that they're struggling to get a PS5 and it's pissing them off, and they're like debating about buying it on the scalper market, eBay. So
hold up.
Yeah, like,
I'll go down.
So and again, I always say, just, you know, register for alerts on Twitter on Press Start AU. I think they're pretty good.
They do come relatively frequently. I've seen
and I see a lot of people who go,
stuff.
"Oh yeah, great, I got it." You know, so they're pretty good with that stuff. Yeah, so you're starting to see stuff like you can actually like connect with your PS4 friends a lot easier, like whilst you're in a party, and then also join games that you're currently live in. So they've improved a lot of that kind of stuff. They have this really weird one where it's like you can, quote unquote, pass the controller virtually in a game to like someone else, which is pretty cool.
I couldn't, from the PlayStation, from the blog article, I couldn't tell whether or not that would also apply to share play with PS4 people.
I believe it is.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Well, PlayStation has a lot of cool stuff that they do. They just either it's not perfectly executed, or it just doesn't work as well as maybe it should, and they don't publicize it. You know, like even the thing I really liked was the standalone PS Vita that they released, like without a display, but they never really spoke about it at all, and they barely made many of them at all. And now they're worth like 4 times the amount of the retail price that they were sold for. And then, yeah, there's a whole host of other changes. When you'd like that they've changed the way that the trophies are displayed and the stats around trophies and all those kind of things. That was even confusing. You know, when I was saying that I was getting through Astro and trying to get 100% on that and get the trophy, I was like really like actually hard to navigate through just to see my percentage and where I was at. Versus PS4 is always really easy with that kind of stuff. So it's good to see a lot of quality of life improvements. Have we had a quality of life improvement to the OS for Xbox? Yeah, Swinny?
It's flawless.
No, they've been adding stuff over time, but I just can't.
But nothing significant like this.
It's hard because also they've got all the different test rings and the insider programs and stuff, so it's kind of hard to keep track of where some of that stuff is. The big thing for me, because I use it all the time on the Xbox, is the fact that they've added the ability to hide games from your game library.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah, to me it seems like such a basic thing to have. It's weird that
I don't agree with that, but
you really? I've been using it on so many different platforms for so long.
I love it, but I don't think
on PC. It's weird to not have it as a feature.
I
use it all the time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't think it's something you'd immediately do if you were building something like that, but yeah, having games and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to delete these games, but I can't because they're in my library. It's good to just be able to hide them at least.
In this day and age of backwards compatibility, especially for digital games, like, I've got like 400 games to go through. Like, sometimes you just I just want to hide a bunch of these and I'm never ever going to play again.
Yeah.
This is literally first world problems.
Well, this whole update's, first world problems.
It's true. And actually, I didn't even realize, but I took advantage of the PS app. It was like showing me some stuff about my storage and all this other kind of stuff. And I didn't realize that was a part of the update, that you could actually see it like easier on the app. The app works pretty well. Like I was getting alerts as to when things were getting installed and downloaded. And we're not going to have a segment on it, but they had the Resident Evil showcase. And I was able to download it from the app and install it to my PS5 and saw like the progress and everything like that. I thought,
wow, if only Xbox had something similar, huh?
So no, good update around the external storage because it is a bit of a mess at the moment. But I'm really interested with the M2 drive because I think eventually I'll probably expand mine because I hate having to delete things in a way that it's like, ugh. Like who knows if the server's going to go down one day in 15 years time and revoke the site. But we'll be covering it, I'm sure. All right, let's jump into our next story. We have a new Switch Lite. So randomly announced during the week.
Whoa, hang on. The new Switch Lite. Please just elaborate on that one.
What do you mean?
It's not, well, because some people might think it's like the Switch Lite Pro.
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, good call. A new color for the Switch Lite. So the same model, same everything, but a new color. And I'll get to that shortly. So it's coming out on the 7th of May in Europe, 21st in other regions, including Australia, so it's 21st of May. I think Metopia is coming out on the same day, from memory. Now, I looked at this Switch, and I swear to God, I must be colorblind. If I did not know what they called this color, I would have thought it was purple. And purple's my favorite color.
What?
Yeah, 100%, dude.
I'm going to look it up. I think you are colorblind.
And so I did a colorblind test because I was nervous about this.
Blue.
Because there have been times where I've said something's like purple or blue and people are like, what? No. This looks purple to me. Or indigo. It looks like almost the GameCube purple.
No, it's blue.
Nah, I don't see it.
And I actually, I went to the length of going, what's the official hex code? So it's 3B4696 from Nintendo. This is from Nintendo, the hex code, right?
3B6, okay, yeah.
And then I checked it, like, because I was like so confused about this. I actually checked it on, like, there's websites where you feed in hex codes and it would classify the color automatically. And the site, to be fair, it does say it's blue, like a very dark blue or something like that.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just looking at it closer.
Color picker.
Look,
it's got a slight indigo to it.
Thank you.
All right, I'm looking at it closer. Looks white and gold to me.
You idiot! I knew you were going to say something like that.
Look, it's.
What color did you see that dress? Because I remember what color I saw it as.
It's weird. It changed for me.
But what did you initially see it as?
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
How about you? Yeah. How about you, Mikey?
I don't remember. Okay. I don't even.
I was like
I don't think I cared about it.
Blue.
Look, I'll give it to you. So if I look at the color picker now, there's definitely.
It looks purple, right?
No,
if you saw that color and someone goes, "That's indigo," would you?
You know why it is? It's because of the hue of it. It's the fact that it's actually not a very sort of pure blue. It's got a bunch of gray in it, and I think that makes it look more towards the indigo color. But it's not. It's actually quite very much in the blue spectrum.
No, I agree, and
because it's 96.
I checked it all.
So
I checked it all, and I was like, you know what? Like,
it's pretty bluish.
By data, I'm wrong. So maybe I'm like a bit colorblind or something. Because to me,
potentially,
if I looked at it, I'd go, "This is an indigo Switch." If they said it was indigo, I'd go, "Yeah, okay, yeah, it's indigo." Like, of course, it's not blue. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this in person because I don't know. I shouldn't get a Switch Lite, should I? That seems like a very excessive.
You know what? It is excessive, but I found myself using my Switch Lite more than my normal Switch.
I like it. I like the form factor. I really like it.
It's a really good form factor. You cramp up a little bit more, but it's just I love using it.
I like the D-pad, man. It's got
weird.
A D-pad.
Yeah,
it's just
D-pad.
One unit.
Very easy to. You literally, it fits in your pocket. Like sometimes I literally just take it, put it in my pocket, go to work or something, and it's in my pocket.
I have a question to the Switch Lite owners on this podcast.
Awesome.
Can you now? I know that Nintendo's really bad with all this stuff, but
terrible.
I'm assuming you can't. But can you confirm that you can't swap like a save via the cloud between two different Switches.
No, you can. Yeah,
I've done it all the time. Yeah,
straight away, or is it more as like a backup option though? That's
no. It saves it straight away. So I did it with LA Noire. So
no. But can we just be clear? Can we be clear, Mike, that it doesn't do it for all games?
Oh, okay.
So some games it doesn't.
Every
work.
game I've tried it for, I've had no issues with it.
So basically, the scenario, can you just so I'm 100% like, and as you said, Indigo, maybe not for every game, but if a game supports it, so I can be playing on my normal Switch and save, and then assume it saves to the cloud. However, take my Switch Lite, go on the train, let's say I've got internet access, obviously, somewhere. I can play the same save file, save it, and then go back to my normal Switch.
Yeah,
I've done that. Yeah, so I did that with LA Noire.
Well, I actually didn't think you could, so I'm glad.
No, the only thing I don't, to be honest, the only thing I haven't tested is how automatic it is. As in, when I did it with LA Noire, I was playing it on my Switch Lite, and then when I started using my red Switch, and it's quite clearly a very red color. Spoken about this before. I just went to the save cloud and just downloaded the copy that I had of the save file and just continued playing on my new Switch as if there was no.
So there's maybe a bit of process to it, but you can do it. Okay.
Yeah, but what I haven't tried is now that it's actually doing the cloud saves automatically, because it does the automatic cloud saves and it should download automatic cloud saves as well. Is what happens if I take the cartridge out, put it into the Lite where I still have a copy of the game, and whether I can literally instantly continue playing from the same spot. So I could give that a crack and make a correction next week if it doesn't work exactly like that.
No, but it does work well. But the thing that I don't like about it is, and why I never pulled the trigger on it is, because like randomly it's like, Splatoon 2, you can't play that on the Switch Lite and the Switch. It's two different profiles then.
That's weird.
It's actually more Nintendo games that don't work on both.
It's weird. I've had no issues with I
Animal Crossing. You can't have it on both.
No, so Animal Crossing. Yeah, those are really weird.
Pokemon.
Yeah, but they're weird examples in the sense that
they're pretty big games.
The way they do the same. No, they are. But every single other game, there's a whole array of games.
Yeah.
Because I used to switch between them. Because sometimes my girlfriend would take the Switch Lite and I'd be like, oh, hang on, let me just make sure that's backed up. It is cool, and then I'll just continue playing it on my other Switch. And I did that with a whole bunch of games, and it was fine.
And just to confirm with anyone, I think you need Nintendo Switch Online subscription to be able to use that, don't you?
You do, to back your save files. I think you do, yeah.
That's so cheap, though. Like, yeah, I don't think that's much of an impediment. But, like, I don't know. There's pretty big franchises like Splatoon, Pokemon, Animal Crossing that don't work.
It's weird, yeah. Across. It's actually kind of weird the way they do that.
Dark Souls doesn't work either.
What?
Yep.
Yes. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm just checking the list.
Oh, I thought it did.
1-2 Switch doesn't. I don't know. It's really strange the way that, like,
man, weird. I can't continue my 1-2 Switch save between 1-2.
The legacy.
I'm gonna try Dark Souls actually.
Unless they've updated since this article came out, which was the 25th of Jan, 2021. So yeah, like that's always been holding me back from pulling the trigger on a Switch Lite.
Dude, I love it.
It does look really cool. It's like it looks more really just like cool. Because it's only for one purpose. Although I don't like that it doesn't have any rumble at all. Like that's quite weird.
You know what? I haven't missed it in most games. The only game that I actually cared and missed it was Mario Odyssey, and that's because in a particular part of a particular level, you need the rumble to make your life easy to find a star. But that's it. Other than that, I'm like, eh.
So I actually know about that, and what they did is they added visual effects. So the screen distort.
But it still wasn't. It didn't.
It's not as obvious.
As good. It wasn't as obvious. Yeah. But other than that, honestly, you don't really care or miss it. And to also probably add something to this is because I was using the Hori, the Joy-Con Pro things. What do we call them again?
Split Pad Pro.
The Split Pad Pro thing.
It's actually such a tongue twister.
In fact, you won't be able to see this one, but I've got my Switch right here. It actually matches the colors.
It kind of looks ugly, though, to be fair.
No,
so what I'm looking at is
it's fine.
Mike has got his brand new Mario blue and red Switch, and then he's got his
blue and red. It's red. It's fully red.
Yeah, the bezel is red.
Yeah, but
it's the first one that's got a coloured bezel.
It matches.
And then he's got the Split Pad Pro, which is predominantly black with red features. So it looks really weird. It looks like it's inverted.
I reckon it kind of look. It kind of is weird. It'd be cool if these were red as well, but whatever.
It looks like I'm trying.
But the point is, because we got to move on, that they don't have a rumble either. So I got used to that, and then I don't really miss it on the light either. So I highly recommend the lights. I think they're awesome.
Yeah, no, true. I'm looking forward to seeing this in person, seeing if it's purple. All right, next story. So the Oculus Quest 2 has got a pretty big update during the week. And it's a bit of a weird one as well, just to flag that it's updated. So I know people have got the update, but the features in the update are going to roll out at a later date, progressively across different users. So you could have the update, but you can't use any of the new features. And they won't tell you when you can use the new features. So a bit strange, but very, very cool updates. So 2 major updates they've announced. So the biggest one is that they have this new thing now, which is called Oculus Air Link. So essentially the Oculus Quest 2 is a standalone VR unit from Facebook, meaning you do not need a PC at all to use it and you can play games on it. It is pretty cool. Like, as much as I don't like Facebook and I would never buy it, you know, you have to admit if something is good, and it is a very, very cool unit. You have one, right, Mike?
Yep. Well priced.
Oh, it's insanely well priced. Like, it feels like they're losing money on the hardware sales of it. Very fun, something that, you know, you can get people to use, and you know, everyone that's used it said, oh, it's pretty funny, like, or novel, or, you know, cool to play. Really now, you can link it to your PC. I've done that to play Half-Life Alyx. Mm-hmm. I had to find a very special USB-C cable to be able to do it.
Well, I wouldn't say very special. It just needs to be a high enough bandwidth cable. There's
but like a lot of the cables will not work.
No, you can't just use a standard run.
But that's what I'm saying, special.
Usually, yeah.
You know, you have to specially like look and go, is this the right one or not?
Yeah.
The official cable is like 120 Australian dollars.
It's insane.
I think I got mine for like 25.
Yeah, $25.
And then it's like also weird that I had to plug it into a very specific port on my motherboard.
USB 3.2?
No, because I've got 3.1 and 3.2 and 3 and 2.
Both should work.
No, 3.1 works better than 3.2. And there's all these crazy reasons why.
Okay.
But anyway, it's very annoying. And it's very like finicky and frustrating.
I never had any issues with it.
But once it's all
out of the box.
Oh, it's very, dude, like, it is not straightforward. But anyway, get it all set up, fine. But this update, and there are backdoor ways to get this working already, and you have to pay money for virtual desktop and a bunch of other stuff. But they're doing this for free now, and it's in the experimental mode of the update. Essentially, what you're going to be able to do is connect your Oculus Quest 2 wirelessly to your desktop PC.
That's going to be cool.
Subject to a very, very high threshold on your Wi-Fi network.
It needs to be on 5G.
5G? No, not 5G.
It's in 5 gigahertz.
5 gigahertz, yeah. 5G
you won't be able to do it on the 2.0.
It's not even 5 gigahertz, dude. It's actually like, I think some of the protocols in 5 gigahertz won't work either.
Huh.
And they've also said you should be around 12 feet. So what is that, like 6 meters or whatever it is? It's not 6 meters, what we're talking about. It's
divided by 3, it's 4 meters away.
Yeah, 4 meters. Yeah.
Wait, by 3?
From the router. That's what they're saying. So that is extremely close to the router. So as I said, like, this update's gone live. I tried to actually use it on my wife's dad's Oculus, but it wasn't live yet on his system.
Dang it.
I'm super interested in using this because I've got like
that's the biggest barrier, right?
Yeah, I've got a really crazy Wi-Fi setup at home that has like the highest standard that they are looking for. So I'm hopeful that it will be like very solid. And I've got a really big area in my house right next to my computer room, my study. So like that would be awesome to be able to like move around in Half-Life Alyx. So I'm actually going to hold off playing that game again. And also the other big change is that they have announced 120 hertz support for the Oculus Quest 2. Currently, it's at 90, but I don't know if you know this, Mike. You actually have to go through the settings to change it. By default, I think it's 75 hertz.
To be honest, I haven't even checked.
So I went through and changed mine to 90 hertz. So
it's interesting that
your step up from like 75 to 120 would be insane.
It'd be massive. Well, yeah, if it's anything like you do it. The only problem is then, of course, having the hardware to push 120. But
it's not the hardware. It's just as long as the Wi-Fi connection's strong enough, it'll be fine, right?
No, I just mean, wouldn't you need games to also run at a certain frame rate?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
so depends on the game at that stage. But
actually, no, the Half-Life Alyx, I don't think it makes much of a difference in a weird way about like if it's 75 or 120. It's more like the texture settings that you've got, like that can really overload your graphics card really easily.
But I find it interesting that that's something that the hardware is capable of doing out of the box. It just wasn't enabled till now. Because normally you can't just get a monitor that's 60 and all of a sudden there's a patch for it and boom shakalaka, it runs at 90 or 120. I've never seen that before.
And then the last one is just and this was in the Resident Evil showcase, that Resident Evil 4 VR is coming exclusively to the Quest 2 store, which is quite interesting. And Resident Evil is on my list of the Dirty Dozen games that I need to play this year. So this should be coming out this year. So I might actually see if I play it on this. I think it'd be a really weird way to play it. Like the first time to play it is on VR, so... Yeah, no, so, like, I mean, you got to give credit where it's due. I think Facebook's doing a lot of good stuff. I just wish they didn't own Oculus.
500 million people's accounts being leaked.
No, it was way more than that. It was like 1 billion something.
That was just scraped data anyway. It wasn't like they'd hacked into it or anything.
Oh, that's just scraped
data.
No,
but I think, look, since we're on the topic...
it's scraped data, like, as in, it was very very misreported. It wasn't great, but... Yeah.
No, there was a vulnerability in how they prevented people from accessing it.
Huge vulnerability. And since we're on the topic, the only reason I think it's quite important with this is that on one hand, they're forcing you to log in so they can collect all your data with a Facebook account. But on the other hand, they can't even make sure that your freaking Facebook account is secure. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, to use an Oculus, you have to go, here's my date of birth, here's my full real name. You can't put a fake name there because they do shut down people's accounts. It's pretty nuts. I've known people who have got their accounts shut down, personal people, so it's insane.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next story. So this is a bit of a left field one and refers back to when I was talking about like games being a bit art as well. And I think this one definitely qualifies for that. So did you want to take this away, Swinny, or?
No, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, sorry.
No, I know it, but it just seems like it's more you're the one that kind of picked up on this.
Well, I thought it was, I just love these kind of almost like experimental art accidents, or because I don't think it was necessarily intended. Just to give the framing of it, there's a lot of game jams, which are really, really cool. I actually look forward to like participating in game jams in the future. I was thinking about taking some time off to do one, but it'd have to be probably, further years down the track. But essentially the whole idea is you have 24 or typically 48 hours to come up with the whole game and like basically finish it. And you'll get the theme of the game jam typically on the day of the game jam or just a few hours before. The biggest one is the Game Maker Toolkit. It's from Mark Brown, the really great game design channel on YouTube. It is like insane how big that has grown. And they
use a good channel though.
Yeah,
love it.
And they use itch.io, and he crashed itch.io last year because of the demand for that game jam. So that's coming up in a month and a half. So we'll talk about it when it gets closer. But this game jam was about games that shouldn't exist. So games that you shouldn't make. So these are games that shouldn't be games, right? And it was intended to be like you release it on the 1st of April as a bit of an April Fool's joke, and you get bonus points if the game is unplayable within the first 24 hours, right? So this developer, and it's hard to say his name, it's like Droqen, so Droqen? Yeah.
Droqen.
The idea that he had was basically to create a globally persistent world that you can enter into. So it's all network based, and you hack these terminals and you can get access to further terminals. The more people that hack the terminals mean you're not going to be able to access, because every other person who hacks a terminal, it's like an exponential increase in terms of how long it's going to take the next person to hack it.
Well, I think you should clarify it's also a very difficult platformer.
Yes.
So that's why those terminals are so important, because
they're checkpoints.
And there's checkpoints and save points, and he's basically said all the conditions up for someone to come in and go, oh, I'm going to take advantage and like take all these checkpoints and make it really difficult for everyone else, and then the game's going to be horrible and unplayable within. Like, he actually was documenting it on Twitter as it was going live. He actually thought it might be a few hours and then the game would be over. And there were like events where people like actually hacked the actual game, and then he had to restore a backup and all this other stuff. But what ended up happening was there almost like from a grassroots perspective, a little community of people who banded together to actually create like a safe environment in the game and try to create like a safe area for people to actually exist in the game and cooperate. So you had this like awesome thing where he sort of was like almost, I guess like a cynical kind of perspective on life and thinking, oh, people are going to just destroy this world, but ended up, creating it and trying to save it. And the game's still live right now. You can still buy it for like $6.66. I'm sure that's not an accident. US dollars. So it's still playable and it's still alive. So I don't know. I just thought it was a really, really cool article. Was there anything else that I missed there, Swinny?
Well, that's the thing, is did you actually mention the article? I think
sorry. Yeah, it was from this. We've actually mentioned another article from this author. So this is from Vice. Patrick Klepek. Yeah, no, really good author. Like, I actually went through some of the other articles way before. So we covered one from Nier, the really famed Super Nintendo emulator writer, and translator as well. So he wrote that article. That was a really, really cool article.
That's really cool, unique stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, and if you go through all of his articles on Vice, he has a lot of really cool takes on different things. Just like small little stories. Like, this game is not a big game. Even with the sales, I think it was like a couple of hundred sales of this game. But just, I don't know, really, really cool. And I love stuff around this that exposes the medium to just things that you couldn't do in film or comics or anything else. Like, this could only be done in video games, which is, I think, a really cool thing.
I just want to quote the game maker. So this time I will just read off what I read. And he said, I believe it's a he. Apologies if it's not.
It's a he.
I have a more positive in quotes, view of what people are capable of enduring now. But I don't know if that's a good thing. People can get used to and even find joy, beauty, and solace in just about anything. On one hand, this is admirable and quite beautiful. But maybe it means, as the end of the world draws near, instead of fighting to stop it, maybe everyone will just endure it. And I found that really, really interesting and really cool for him to say that. Because human beings are extremely resilient. That's the one thing about us that is absolutely incredible. But the problem is it's a double-edged sword, because our resilience is also a means for us to become quite complacent and just accept shit that we shouldn't be accepting. And I think it is down to that. I mean, you know, if I don't want to get into sort of a depressing train of thought, but if you look at global warming, or if you look at how we destroy the environment, we're just going to keep doing it. And even if it means that the whole world will just be an absolutely shit place to live in, the species will continue, and we will just keep enduring it, forgetting that there's better options out there. You know, we can do much better than that. Humanity can actually be in a much better position if we didn't just accept all the crap that's coming to us. So I thought his from a philosophical perspective, it was really cool, and I think the way he phrased that as well was awesome.
That is very appreciated, Mike Thunberg.
Hey, don't speak, Mike. Swinny, what do you reckon the chances that Mike read the article?
Actually, what do you mean?
He did read
the article.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you would have been really amped up about the whole fact that a big part of where the game came from was
I know where this is going.
The discussion around cryptocurrency and the environmental
No,
impacts.
I read that too. Yeah,
but it's just something that you talk
Don't
about.
get him started. Why'd you bring it up?
Do not get me. No.
Because I thought he didn't read the article because the fact that he didn't mention it.
I read it. I'm not going to derail this discussion. I actually thought the really
But it's
cool
interesting
part
that it kind of came from that.
Yeah.
And the selfishness of people.
He's got very he's got very cool views on that.
Yeah, I thought, man, this game
really
was like a game that Mike could have made.
Hmm.
I like it. All right, let's go into my favorite segment of the week, the bargain bin, for the week commencing the 18th of April 2021. As always, we start with Epic Game Store because they like to give away games for free. Yep. This week, there's 3 games actually. So Deponia, The Complete Journey.
Get.
I don't know how to say this name. Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth, and The First Tree. So I've, of course, collected all of those 3 games, and I'll play them religiously.
You got to play Deponia. It's one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've talked about it on multiple episodes, if you remember.
I do.
I've been plugging it all along, always saying when it's on special on the Switch.
On the Switch, speaking of which, Doraemon Story of Seasons is $20. Not sure if you're getting that, Mike. And that's
I may actually pick that one up. It's meant to be a very good version of Story Seasons.
There you go. Because you're now the expert on those type of games, Mike. Bug Fables, The Everlasting Sapling, a game that Swinny is a massive fan of.
He's plugged that at multiple
$31.50.
times.
Very underappreciated. If you love Paper Mario, this is basically a sequel.
And you said it's better. So
I think it's better than The Thousand Year Door, yeah.
Come at Swinny. Carrion, which is $20.10 until 25th of April, Anzac Day. Fez, which is obviously just got released, is $21, and The Messenger, which is $15. So
Fez is $18.90 until the 25th.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. It was all just out of order. I wrote that though. $18.90. Sorry, I should correct that. Very small discount, but it's a discount nonetheless. On PlayStation, we should just mention, because this is coming up to download shortly, Horizon Zero Dawn. They announced this before as part of the Play at Home initiative. That will be downloadable for free for anyone who has a PlayStation. I'm just trying to remember. Is that a PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation 4? I think it's all PlayStations from memory. And regardless, you can log into the app and then add it to your account anyway through PlayStation 5, so you can always get it that way. And digital highlights, very topical. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, $6, and Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, $12.40. I'll hand over to Swinny now for the Xbox sales.
NA.
So that is an annoying thing about our timing of the podcast, that a lot of the sales actually end the day that we publish. So it's kind of like doesn't make any sense to even put them up.
Yeah, they'll have their day when it hits like the Black Friday sales and stuff. But
that's true.
We do have some PSAs though.
Yeah.
So Ubisoft, so they're shutting down a bunch of stuff. So they're shutting down servers and multiplayer modes, I guess, across all platforms for these specific games, but there's no date yet. So they'll be shutting down this year Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2, Rainbow Six Lockdown, and Ghost Recon Future Soldier. And that is a big shame because Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2 had some really, really cool multiplayer modes like Terrorist Hunt and stuff. Really, really cool. There was actually, I believe, an achievement in one of the Rainbow Six games for actually like hosting a server or something like that. So that was really interesting. You won't be able to get that anymore. And on PC specifically, there's a whole bunch of Ubisoft games that are losing online support on the 1st of June. But a lot of these games, it may just be like leaderboards or things like that. So the games that are losing online support are Assassin's Creed 2, Prince of Persia: Forgotten Sands, Far Cry 2, Anno 1404, Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, which is great, Splinter Cell Conviction, The Settlers 7, and Might and Magic 10 Legacy. So with Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, there's a multiplayer mode with that. So essentially that will be gone from the 1st of June.
I have to say, I'm always so pro-business, but I don't like when servers go down, I kind of just wish they had the ability for people to have community servers to take over. So they publish the specs or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, often, the communities are generally, they shouldn't have to, but they're pretty savvy. They'll sometimes get it working anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's just, that's one thing I don't really like. I get a bit annoyed about that kind of stuff, but that's a good PSA. All right, let's get into our special features. So first up, I just wanted to call out because, I've spoken about remote play, and this is mostly for remote play. And I actually tried out Steam Remote Play as well on my DualShock 4 on my iPhone, and I was like blown away at how well it worked. It actually shocked me. So I booted up Deus Ex Human Revolution, which I have on PC, and played it on my phone, and without even changing anything. So this is through Steam Link. It worked really, really well. I was like absolutely shocked at how well it worked. So I finally pulled the trigger and decided I'm going to get like a phone mount for my DualShock 4. So I just want to talk about this one, which is the Powerwave controller phone mount.
So can I just ask, you said pull the trigger. How much is it?
So this is 15 Australian dollars.
Yes. I like how you say pull the trigger like it's been something that you've been like, I'm going to get this for ages.
It is.
Was it the left trigger or the right trigger you pulled?
Dude, I will check this, double check it, be very, very careful. So I'm like showing it on the screen now. I've got it attached to my white DualShock 4. I'll just say, like, to me, it's like if you're ever thinking about getting like something like this for especially DualShock or the Xbox, this is the way to go, not what Mike is showing, which is the Game Vice thing that plugs on the sides.
This is the way to go.
No, it's not.
It's like a glorified Switch with an even bigger screen than a Switch.
Mike, we're not reviewing that.
I'm just telling people the right one to get.
I love this. Like, this is like really... This actually forced me to make a decision. You know how I've said this before? I've got the back button accessory for the DualShock. This made me decide whether I get rid of that or keep this thing on it. And I've kept this thing on it.
Wow.
And it works so well. Like, I'm just connected to my PS5 right now. I've got the Village demo up and running. But it's just, I don't know, it just kind of shocks me how well it works.
Can I ask, so you're saying you're playing PS5, but it's a DualShock 4.
Yeah.
I thought that you couldn't use DualShock 4 for PS5 games.
Good question. What a weird loophole. If I tried to connect my DualShock 4 to the PS5 directly, and I'll show people on like live. So Astrobot is not playable if I use my PS4. So I'm just going into the Playroom. So just like showing now, play. If I tried this on my PS5, I would not be able to use my DualShock 4. But they allow it if you use remote play to use the DualShock 4
what
to
a
control it.
That's hilarious.
Which just kind of shows you that what a pointless restriction to not allow you to use the DualShock 4. Because there's all this like stuff in Astro that is like very specifically for the DualShock, DualSense, apologies. So,
yeah. But
so I'm just testing it out actually because this might not work. Let me see. Oh no, there it goes. Astro's out.
That would work, wouldn't it? Yeah,
it works. Yeah.
But I mean, because you can use the pad, right? And it's got the gyros. So...
Exactly. And like I cannot emphasize, like, it just is so responsive. Like, just showing it on the video. Like, if you're thinking about getting something like this in Australia, this is really easy to get. They're like $14 on Amazon or JB Hi-Fi, EB Games. You can buy it in person. It's like a little bit flimsy, but the thing is, it is like $15, so it's kind of a bit like, it's not going to be the end of the world if it does break or something like that. But yeah,
a bit of sticky tape and you're done.
Exactly. Yeah, the plastic is very flimsy. But yeah, like I was kind of surprised, and I kind of wish I got it earlier because it does allow me to play downstairs and a few other places a lot easier. So that's it. Any questions from you guys? I recommend it. Intergot's thumbs up on that one. No? All right, let's get into our review.
I did that on purpose.
I know you did, you bastard.
The only question I had is, are you going to get the same one for the Switch? Like a similar
no, because
thing
like
for the Pro
the
Controller
ones on the
for
Switch are so much more expensive.
No, you can still get the El cheaper ones for about 20 odd bucks.
They're a little bit more than that, I've found.
20 something bucks.
It's like more like 25 that I've seen.
Well, the Switch is heavier than a phone, generally.
That's the thing. Look, the thing is, I have to say, this is heavy. This is heavy. I think the design, you know how I showed you the fixture S1? Yeah. I think that the design of that, because it actually brings the Switch kind of, it's almost like on top of the Pro controller. it then helps distribute the weight better.
But I was looking at the S1, which is about $57 or something on Amazon.
Yeah, it goes up
and then I looked at the third-party ones, and to be honest, the S1 didn't look like it was a premium product compared to just the El Cheapo ones. That I would probably end up just getting an El Cheapo one. Because it didn't, Well, if
you like one of the El Cheapo ones, let me know and I'll buy it.
I think I'll try one, yeah.
Okay, good.
I was not impressed by the S1. I think I will. Because I am wondering, whether it's better or worse than having this thing, which I'm showing again.
I just love the fact that you've got... I'm someone who has so many controllers. I could turn around and grab 5 controllers within arm's length. And you're even worse than me, I think. Which is
probably
amazing.
When I've got this thing that I don't use anymore.
Yeah. So as I said, I'd really recommend it if people are thinking about being able to play remote play. Now it does work on Apple Arcade. If you I've seen some people commenting. So I'm certainly not in this field of what people are buying this for. What people are doing is because Call of Duty on mobile is massive. So and same as Fortnite. So what they do is they use the DualShock 4 to play Fortnite and Call of Duty. And the games don't really decipher that, it's a mobile player versus someone who's got a bloody controller. And they just dominate. They're going, I went from a 1 kill to death ratio to a 8 kill to death ratio. I'm like, it's very strange to me. And they're going down this path. But as I said.
Just question that's related to that. Are there ways to play keyboard and mouse controls on Call of Duty Mobile or something? I'd just be keen to know, could you actually get that working somehow?
Yes, but the game would have to allow it. So those devices now allow you to have Bluetooth keyboards and things like that.
Okay. No, I was just keen to see if people go to the next level and try to dominate with keyboard and mouse.
Because I was debating about trying to find a Steam TV. What is it called, Mike? I think you own one. The Steam Link?
Yeah, I got the Steam Link.
I've got one as well.
Oh, okay. I don't know if they still sell it, but I was I wonder if I could just play downstairs on my big TV with a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. Trying to play Deus Ex downstairs.
Probably could. Yeah.
I don't know. I might try it one day. Anyway, let's get into our final feature of the day. So today we're going to go through LA Noire, an Australian game, amazingly. And it's part of our Game of Some Other Year 2011 nominee specials. So we're going to do, and I'm going to quote Swinny, a close investigation of the classic noir thriller from Team Bondi, not Bondi, Team Bondi, and Rockstar, obviously. So LA Noire, as I said, came out in 2011. Pretty revolutionary game, mostly because of the way that they did mocap, facial capture, voice capture. I guess jumping straight into something.
Before we jump into LA Noire, I just want to clarify for anyone that doesn't know all our nominees. I think.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, take it away.
The 6 Game of Some Other Year 2011 nominees are LA Noire, of course, Minecraft, which we've covered previously as a special, Super Mario 3D Land, which we've also covered, Deus Ex Human Revolution, which I believe we're covering next in
2 weeks' time. Yep.
Mm-hmm. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and the 6th nominee is Dark Souls. So they're the 6. Thanks. Just wanted to clarify.
So the idea for the whole Game of Some of the Year is, with the passage of time, we can clearly look at these games rather than looking through the lens of the year that they get released, which could have hype or PR or all these other kind of factors. And also sometimes you can look at a game and go, is it really that amazing with the passage of time? So LA Noire, I think it's probably one of the games that, to me, benefited with the passage of time rather than diminished. When it came out, obviously it had an impact, but I think even looking back now, it's pretty crazy, I guess, how it's had a massive influence on gaming. But then also, how many games are still like this and are trying to achieve the things that this game does? So, Swinny, did you play this when it came out, in 2011?
Yeah, so I don't know if I played it close to launch, but I didn't play it that much long after. Played it on the 360. Really enjoyed it back then. Enjoyed the DLC that they released after as well, which I think they worked into the re-release, which I believe you guys have played. So
you have to do it in the re-release.
Yeah, so you may not, there's some that you may not have realised are or aren't DLC unless you looked it up. I think it was a great experience back then. As as much as he said, "Oh, there's games that have tried to be like this." Honestly, I've never played another game like this before. Since this, it is such a unique game, and I think, as much as it did get obviously got a huge amount of bars, it was quite critically acclaimed and stuff. I still think it's quite underappreciated in what it achieved.
Yeah, it's almost like a cult classic, but it was popular, but not.
Well, I think people just didn't understand how special this game was at the time, because it's very how can I say, it's very experimental, and it takes a lot of chances, and not all of them are amazing. We'll maybe get to some of that stuff, but overall, what they achieved with this game is quite phenomenal, I think.
And can I just because definitely there's so many different threads that I want to pick up on there. For me, just to cover kind of almost mechanically the game. So Mike and I both played it on the Switch, and that incorporates the DLC missions, all of them that ever got released. Not the VR ones, because that's obviously VR, but all the ones that got released into the main body as if that's the way it was built.
Yeah.
And I think, to me personally, it does a disservice for the game. So I the only reason why I found out that all those DLC were incorporated in the flow of the game is because at a certain point in the game, I was like, this game feels like it's dragging on a bit, right? And when I checked it all out and looked at the timing, I think
you can see why. Yeah.
I would have been finished with the game on its Xbox 360 release. But because they've included all these cases, some of the desks, so, just to call out, the game, has Cole, who's the protagonist of the game, and he progresses his career after participating in World War II, his policing career through different desks. So he starts off with traffic, then goes to homicide. It's always weird to me because I always think homicide should be the last one.
That's what I thought too. Yeah,
yeah. But they cover that in the game.
That's the beauty.
Yeah, they cover it in the game. Yeah, homicide, etc. So one of the desks was meant to be 3 cases, but then in the Switch version, it's 5. So even when I was playing, I was like, man, this feels like it's dragging on. What the hell?
And I remember one of the cases. It felt like it wasn't as good as the other ones.
Oh, interesting.
I just remember one of them, and I remember thinking, there's a few parts where I'm not gonna ruin the case itself, but you basically have to follow a lady, and even though you are literally right behind her, somehow she manages to catch a taxi to get to some faraway place that you have to then get to, which makes absolutely no sense. And it was almost kind of, it definitely broke the experience a little bit. And then I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the DLCs. Yeah. So it's weird that you're forced to do those, because you have to do every single mission or every single case, including the DLC ones, to progress the story. And it definitely felt like it dragged on.
Honestly, I know it's important, obviously, what you guys are saying, your experience. I don't want that to put a mark on the game that was released in 2011.
No,
absolutely not.
That's why I wanted to call it out, Swinny, because I'm actually mentally kind of going, you know what? I'm going to almost, give it more credit and push some of that stuff out, because I totally enjoyed this game. I was caught up in it, playing it all the time and that's the beauty of the Switch. Obviously, you can fire it up for 20 minutes, put it down really quickly. I really got into it. Once it started going, I was just I'm just playing it to just see what happens next. And
same. I actually want to see the full story. I want to see. So I haven't finished it. So just to be clear as well, I think I quickly looked it up before the show, just to see without spoiling anything for myself, how many missions there are, and I am at the very end of Vice, and so that's probably 80% of the way through. So I think I've experienced, a good massive chunk of the game, to be able to properly talk about it. But
it is one of those
I actually want to finish it.
Well, I kind of want you to get to the ending, and obviously
I absolutely will,
because I hate
get to the
spoilers,
ending.
but
I want to finish it. I'm actually drawn into the story, and I want to see what happens.
One thread that I want to pull on that you sort of threw out there, Swinny, was just about the experimentation. Not saying that no game has ever done this, but generally with video games, think of the classic one, like Legend of Zelda. you have a voiceless protagonist in Link who, in the whole history of the game, of 35 years, has never said a word in any single game, right? Like, it's the whole idea of you are Link, you can be whoever you want, really, because he doesn't really have a personality, and they kind of structure it like that. Whereas this game, I thought it was quite fascinating. Like, you're playing as this character, Cole, but you're playing a character, but it's really almost like a film, like a noir film where it's, you're not really kind of doing the choices that Cole's doing. You're kind of part watching a movie, part playing the movie. And there's things that happen in the story and beats in the story where it's like, well, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cole is a very interesting protagonist. He's very unlikable in many ways.
Yes, extremely unlikable in a lot of ways.
But there's also other times when you're rooting for him because it feels like he's hard done by.
I like Cole.
And I think he's acted fantastically by Aaron Staton, who's, from Mad Men and things like that. And it was,
that's all I could think all the way through.
Very, very weird for me watching Mad Men after playing this game. Whereas the opposite for you guys, because I'm watching Mad Men just thinking that he's Cole Phelps the whole time.
Oh, that's funny.
And he also, I was the opposite. And he also, especially in like the first season of Mad Men, plays also an unlikable person there. So it's interesting. But I 100% get what you're saying. It kind of feels like there's times when you're in control and times when you're not, which is interesting.
Yeah, and like I hate spoilers, and this game came out like 10 years ago, so I'm not going to refer to them, but there are definite story beats where something happens in the game, and I'm like, huh? Like, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do that. What's going on? And then I was thinking, it must be like the game's tricking you. He hasn't actually done the thing that they're saying he's done. And then you find out, no, he has. He's really done that thing, and you're like, okay, like what? Like, am I a bastard? Like, what's going on here?
So with the story, I'm not going to spoil anything with this, but the actual like case to case and the storyline that goes from desk to desk, I think is fantastic. The overarching narrative, not so much for me. I mean, it's interesting, but it's also it relies so much on coincidence and things that just feel like. Wait, that person's also related to this? Like, what? It feels very unrealistic with that. But when it comes to the storyline, the cases and desks, I think it is great.
They're really good.
But just before we move on that, Swinny, it's like, I totally agree, but then in a weird way, this game is a bit of a love letter to the noir genre.
That's a good point.
And they always have that thing of, the person that is the person that's like behind this crazy scheme, and it's like it's a 1 in a million chance, but it's like all of those movies are like that. Or the other thing they do is they have a completely random thing that comes into it, like a random element, person, whatever, and it's like, what's the chance of that as well? Like, so it's a tough one. I got the same sense as you. It felt like really like all of this shit's connected, like, but then it's like, well, that's actually how it does work in noir films. Can see.
I think Homicide is an interesting one because you obviously know something's going on. And again, it's so hard to talk about some of the stuff without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, at the end of it, even though it was pretty obvious something was going on, what the reveal was really disappointing. I'm like, really? Him? Okay, fair enough. Like, it didn't really... I don't know. It
kind of didn't earn the moments.
No, it didn't. It didn't. Yeah. So the actual parts themselves, the cases themselves were fantastic to kind of figure out and stuff. And I think we should very quickly talk about that as well with the fact that you got to keep track in your mind about some of the stuff. You have a notebook that you can refer to, and for those that haven't played it, when the game kind of boils down, other than the driving and a bunch of other mechanics, it boils down to you investigating a crime scene and collecting a bunch of clues by investigating objects, dead bodies, etc. And then you keep track of those clues in your notebook. And then the second big component is interrogating the witnesses. And there's 3 options, which originally they were actually labeled something different in the original 2011 game, and subsequently in the new release, it's different. Which is why I see all those memes with press X to doubt, That doesn't exist anymore. It's now bad cop and good cop, which is kind of confusing,
I didn't
right?
know that all the way through until like right at the end, and I was like, "Why did they change that?" It feels different. Like it's so much.
I actually don't know why they changed
more
that.
obvious. The original descriptors.
I feel like the original descriptions were almost more obvious, and it almost more obvious because sometimes it's hard to. So in the new version, you get good cop, bad cop, and accuse. And in the original, it's truth, I think, doubt, and I don't remember the first one, and lie. And basically, the first two are pretty obvious. Like good cop and bad cop is good cop is you're sort of more empathetic towards the person, and you don't necessarily think they're lying. Bad cop tends to be you definitely think they're lying, and you take a really hard stance. And then accuse is where you accuse them of a particular thing, but you need some evidence to prove that. So you need to have made sure that you've, collected the right amount of evidence, and then you can actually go through the notebook and pick the particular evidence that you think links them to that thing that they're lying about. And it's really awesome because it's sometimes not completely straightforward, and you have to keep flicking back between your notebook and going, oh, what did this person say? Or what was this clue that I found that completely, proves that this person's lying in this particular instance? And at the start of the game, I don't know if you guys sort of felt the same. It wasn't pretty obvious what to select. I was like, is this person lying? Am I supposed to select lie?
I was getting destroyed at the start of the game.
So was I. But then you kind of get it. It clicks. And it becomes very obvious when someone's lying in terms of like their facial expressions, twitches, stuff like that it becomes a lot easier to pick that up. But what becomes a little hard still is, am I supposed to still be a good cop with this particular person or a bad cop? Pick the bad cop option. No. Bad cop is pretty much most of the time. Like it's rare-ish. Not I would say rare-ish.
That's why doubt makes more sense, because
doubt did make more sense.
I probably should have just thought about that all the way through. Just like think of it as doubt, because good cop, bad cop. It's more like, how do I want to frame this discussion, not like what I'm thinking about what you're saying. So I just thought it was a really bad way to re-describe it.
Yeah, I don't understand that change. Obviously, I haven't played the new one, but when I saw that, I'm like, that's like, unless they've reworked some stuff, which that doesn't seem like it would apply in every situation.
Exactly. So
it's a bit weird in some situations.
And I got to also be careful about like what we're talking about, right? There was stuff where it's like, because and this is kind of going off a little bit, but maybe we need to move on. But like the game deals with really heavy, crazy, serious topics, sometimes very flippantly, like pedophilia and all this other kind of stuff. It was just like, oh, it's just thrown out there. Like, oh, this is what
it's one of the most adulty games I have ever played.
And why I'm bringing it up is because this whole truth doubt thing that kind of makes more sense. But there's sometimes where you have to ask victims, right, of these crimes, and you have to do the good cop bad cop thing. And I'm like, why would you do bad cop to like a victim of like, sexual assault or something? But I've looked at the answers, and the answers were you were meant to do bad cop. Yeah. I'm like, this is crazy.
Because sometimes you need to be forceful with people.
Yeah, but see, doubt makes more sense. It's like someone could say something and you're like, I kind of doubt what they're saying. Right?
Or they're they're stressed, and
correct.
You kind of like doubt their recalling of this.
Yeah, but bad cop, like, are you really going bad cop on
I don't know.
Underage person?
The problem is the different things. That, you know what I mean? Like, doubting someone is different than being a bad cop to someone.
That's our point.
They're completely different.
That's the thing.
Things.
That's why it's so
stupid. How they've
like
changed them. Yeah.
But I just wanted to go back to the adult themes. Man, this game like shocked me. Like,
it's insane.
Like the dead bodies and all this other kind of stuff, and like investigating the bodies. And I was just like, whoa.
Racism. I mean, look, it's set in the late 40s, but still.
Once you get to the arson desk.
Oh, that's insane.
It gets worse.
There's some unsettling stuff there.
Wow, okay. Because it's pretty unsettling as is, right? Pretty damn unsettling as is.
I think overall the arson desk and that whole run through is the worst.
Wow. I'm not looking forward to that.
Because as I said, it's like some stuff I feel like, I don't know, Swinny, am I being too aggressive? But it feels like a little bit flippant the way that I don't know, maybe the times were different 10 years ago. Maybe I'm looking at it from a 2021.
Myself. I didn't.
Yeah, I honestly think it's handled pretty well, but it's also been a while since I've played through the whole game. So.
I think it's handled extremely well. Even for like 2011, 2021 standards, it's an extremely well handled game.
I think there's one in particular, and I don't want to spoil the game, right? But there's a situation where it's like someone's like, 50 something years old, and they're with a 12-year-old in the game, right? And it's kind of like not really brought up as a like crazy thing. Like it's very like flippant in my opinion, how they managed that whole part of the case.
Yeah, they didn't hold back in the game.
And it shocked me. I was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, are we just moving on from this? Like, really? I don't know. The game's
but here's the thing though. It covers so many crazy topics like that.
Yeah.
That it's hard for it to go into detail of every single one, because it literally, the whole spectrum of police work and detective work and the crazy horrible things that can happen, from drugs to murder to, I won't mention everything else, it covers pretty much the whole spectrum.
Anything, so any crime,
any crime, it kind of it goes there.
I just want to talk about the gameplay a bit, some of the mechanics.
Yeah.
So we talked about the investigation mechanics, and he said, there's some other stuff, but that's where I think it's important to kind of look into, because the game does move between those investigation interrogation scenes and also like action set pieces. So whether or not it's a chase sequence in a car driving, or if it's a shootout. So this game actually has third person shooting combat, and honestly it's not too bad. Like,
and fighting
it's pretty
combat.
good, yeah, and fighting.
Well, I was about to get to that. So
sorry.
So the shooting combat, it's actually handled, it's pretty good. But then the hand-to-hand stuff just feels so shoehorned and so unnecessary. It's not horrible, but you're like, this game really didn't need this. And there's also a couple of, like, there is one particular section that is unfortunately a bit of a spoiler in the last desk in Arson, that I think it's probably the low point of the game for me, but from a gameplay standpoint. But the great thing that this game does...
I'm trying to actually think what you're talking about, because I played through that.
There's a chase sequence.
No spoilers,
there's a chase sequence, but yeah.
Okay.
But the great thing that this game does, and I've got a first-hand account of it as well, is it allows you to skip any of those scenes. And I think,
that's true.
That is absolutely fantastic for the nature of this game, because I know someone that actually was very interested in playing this game and really enjoyed it, but they're a very casual gamer. They're just like, I'm just not interested in doing the action part of it. They just wanted to be a detective. They wanted to follow the story.
That's awesome.
And I think it's fantastic they added this in, because when you think back to 2011, there weren't many other games that allow you to skip entire massive sections of a game and only focus on like the story. Like, story mode wasn't really a thing for many games back then. So I think that's a huge credit to Team Bondi or Rockstar, whoever made the decision to add that in, because it I think opened the game up to a whole range of group of people to experience.
I only skipped one thing once. I was following a lady. Yeah, because I had to do a mission where I was following a lady and I kept getting busted.
Oh yeah. I got busted a couple of times.
So I'm not good at following ladies. I'm being a creep.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think we're all supporters of when devs do these kind of things, like add mechanics in the game to make it easier for some people, because I've always thought it's optional, right? Like, and I certainly I'm not a believer in forcing developers to do it, or like having an issue if they don't do that, like Dark Souls not having like a difficulty level. Like, that's the choice of the developer. But if they do that, then it's like, that's fine, doesn't bother me. So, and I kind of wish more games did it. I know, really random point, but I kind of wish like Monster Hunter Rise had some kind of auto battle sort of ability, because I know people that would play that game just to harvest and do all the stuff and, craft and do all the crazy shit that you can do in Monster Hunter Rise, but they just will never get the action down, so they'll never play it. So
speaking of skippable stuff, side missions, did you guys do many of them?
No. Very little.
Okay. So I did like 25 out of the 40.
Oh, wow.
I did whatever I needed to do to get the completion back then, so I'm sure that
probably
involved most of them.
Probably. They were a little repetitive.
But that actually reminds me of something I really like about the game, is that other than those action sequences, the game doesn't let you fail.
No, you can.
In the investigations, really.
No,
you can't fail the investigations. You can screw up majorly, and it changes some stuff. But
but that's not saying.
Right. You can't really fail an investigation.
The whole thing is, but what it does is it just makes you feel like crap because you just feel stupid.
You're an idiot.
You're like, oh man, I got that so wrong. Wow.
It's a weird game in that way because I, at the end of the game, looked back and saw my status across all the cases. And at the start, I didn't know what I was doing. And I have to say, kind of partly, I was playing the game in a dumb way. Like, I didn't have sound on for a bunch of the game at the start. And the game actually relies on sound a lot. Like, the game will give you audio cues when you've completed, like, all the clues in a certain area. Or even, subtle clues when they're talking, you know. So, like, I was just going by what they were looking like and the words at the bottom, but that's so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Right? No, you need it.
That musical cue thing, oh my god, that would have... Yeah, that's so integral to this.
Yeah, so I didn't have that.
Super handy, yeah.
But I was, like, going through the cases, completely failing them. Like, accusing the wrong person, everything, right? And then I just progressing. I'm like... At the start, I had to admit, I was like, this game is so stupid. It's like, it doesn't penalize you at all. It doesn't give you a different path to go down or anything like that. And I honestly do think even at the end, it's still clunky how it's just kind of like go from point A to B to C to D and then you'll get through the case. So like...
Yeah, I find that, I have to admit, I found that even though I found the cases themselves interesting in their own way, I found that a little repetitive. And again, I don't know if that's because of the DLC and the fact that it was padded out too much by the time we played this version of it. And it may not have suffered from that in the original. But I did find that after a while, it kind of... I'm like, all right, what am I investigating now? All right, here we go. Same thing again. I got to do this. I got to interview this person. They're going to tell me some shit. Obviously, they're lying. Okay, here we go. What's this piece of evidence I got to do? So there was a bit of repetition like that. But I actually think it might just be because of it. The padding due to the DLCs that I think the original game didn't suffer from memory when I played it back then as much.
Yeah, I definitely think the padding serves a detriment to the game. I would have liked...
Especially because it's forced.
Yeah, I would have liked it to be like at a later date I can go through the DLC.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, cool. Like there's some extra missions that I can play after playing the main one. Because I'd look there and go, I feel like the real game was kind of like... what they'd made originally and all those extras are sort of... Because some of them were really weird, the way that you had to get them. It was like you had to buy it at GameStop in America to get that specific mission. It's like they obviously did not care about that mission as much as the common main
might have been the mission I did that
I'm mindful of time. We've kind of already talked about that for a bit.
Yeah.
I was just going to say my last kind of call out for this whole thing is I think the game has absolutely fantastic music.
Yes, I was going to say that too. I love the music.
It is great. And part of that is they work the motifs into those musical cues. So it's actually like the music is also kind of almost intertwined with the gameplay in a lot of ways. So.
I want to listen to the soundtrack. And it's one of the coolest soundtracks. It's so unique because of the era. There's not that many games set in that era, first of all. It's got a really cool soundtrack.
Yeah, the one thing, and I don't think we've mentioned it so far, is that in a weird way, this game is an open world game, but extremely linear game as well.
Well, it's linear in the sense that it's linear if you... so it doesn't have the same level of world detail, I think, as something like GTA. And the problem is there's nothing that requires you to go and just explore the world randomly. Like, I've driven around just for the hell of it and stuff like that, but there's nothing to really...
Well, its open world is for... Well, I think there might be some collectibles and stuff, but the open world is for the setting.
It's
and
just
I love
setting,
that.
yeah.
I love the fact that people complained about it. I think that's a positive for this game.
Oh, massive positive.
The fact that they just decided, like, they put in so much hard work just to make you feel like you're in like the 1940s LA. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, and they've structured the whole city so you can go anywhere, and it's all the cases and the desks play out in different sections of the city. And it feels like a real kind of world. Like it's really well achieved. And it's funny, but it's a bit similar to Alan Wake, where Alan Wake was originally meant to be an open world game with a day-night cycle. And then they shelved that and made it extremely linear. But because they had the foundation of a kind of a real area where they've really thought about all the areas and how they connect, I think it really added to the game. And I think it adds to this game as well. It does feel really weird, the fact that they've got this whole open world and you're kind of stuck on a very linear, main quest structure with no real side quests.
Yeah, there's no... You don't just go to a random question mark and it opens up a new mission or anything, you get a case, and there's points of interest you have to go to between the case and within that case, and that's kind of it. And you just drive around between that.
Yeah. Hey, look, like my last thing that I wanted to say about it is like it's a very fascinating game. It's well worth playing. It's awesome that it's an Australian game. Like I don't know, you know, I guess like Hollow Knight would be up there, but it'd probably be up there as one of the greatest Australian games that was ever made. This one
absolutely is, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's well worthy of being a nominee for the Game of Some Other Year 2011.
I'm so glad I played it again. There's a couple of really quick things I wanted to touch on. Thank you. Yes.
Hey, I did. What are you talking about? I pushed for this game as well.
I'm the only one that had it in my list when we did the shortlist.
Well, I got it in my shortlist. I'm looking through it right now.
Was this the one that I said I'm adding it to the list just so I can play it?
No, anyway, I just wanted to just make that.
So, a couple of really quick things is that I
No, wait a second. I'm looking at mine. I had it in mine, Swinny. Thank you very much.
I remember differently.
Batman, Arkham City, Dark Souls, Skyrim, LA Noire, Skyward Sword, Minecraft, Portal 2, and 3D World.
Okay.
3D Land.
I remember differently, but I'll trust you on that one.
You remember differently? I'm like reading from the list. I
just said I'll trust you on that one.
All right.
He may have altered the list, though.
No, I did not.
Maybe he altered the evidence.
Go on. What are your closing points?
A couple of really quick closing points. Number one that I found quite fascinating is that there's no Hollywood sign in the game, which is the iconic sign. It's called the Hollywood Land sign in the game.
But that's what it was back then.
What?
In the 40s, that's what it said.
Did it actually say Hollywood Land? Are you pulling my leg, or is that true?
I'm like 95% sure. It used to be called the Hollywood Land.
I thought it was because of copyright issues. They couldn't say Hollywood because the actual sign's copyrighted.
I'm just looking at it. Yeah, it used to be Hollywood Land. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wow. Okay, cool to know. And the other thing, which we kind of touched upon, but I think it's really worth just mentioning again, is the facial capture and the animations. To this day, it's still some of the best I've seen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, by far, some of the best I've seen. The technology that they used, I feel like it hasn't really been used that well anywhere else. It's incredible, actually, even by today's standards. And I'm lucky I've been playing it on the Switch and handheld, so you know the resolution and the quality isn't as much of an impact. But man, I was blown away how awesome the animations were for like not only for a 2011 game, but even by today's standards, it's insanely good.
I do find it funny that 6 years after this game came out, and this game gets a lot of shit, so unfortunately I have to add to the pile, but you know, this game comes out then 6 years later, so that's almost a whole generation of gaming. Then Mass Effect Andromeda comes out with the facial animation.
I know, right?
And it's unfair because, you know, one game is like probably the pinnacle of facial animations versus one's one of the lower ones, but...
No, but I feel like it's weird. They haven't really... I don't recall... And Swinny, maybe you might remember this. If there's any games that have really used that kind of tech since.
I mean, I don't know if this specific tech that Team Bondi developed, but there's certainly mocap being done.
Of course there is. But this particular tech and the way they've achieved it and how good it is, I feel like it didn't really go anywhere after that.
Well, that is where, you know, like, you could say that probably that was a vast time of their development went into probably this part of the performance capture and everything. Like, that was what the game was kind of heralded for, really. So,
you know what? I hope one day we're popular enough that we can get some of the people from Team Bondi and we can do a retrospective on the game and pick their brains on the development of the game. I'd love to do that.
And why we never got to see Horror of the Orient.
I know.
That's quite a wild title.
Maybe one day.
It's amazing it was announced like that. So really, really good game. As we said, 2 weeks from now, we'll cover Deus Ex Human Revolution. We are halfway through the nominees. And then I should have had the schedule up in front of me beforehand, but we will make a decision on the 13th of June, 2021, on what the best game of... We'll rank them all from 1st to 6th. So it's not just about the number one game. It's like, where will this game rank in the midst of those other games?
How far behind Dead Island will it be?
All right. that wraps us up for this week's show. As always, reach out to us at BigWigPod or hit us up on the YouTube comments. We're getting pretty close to 150 subs on there, so that'd be pretty cool when we tick that off. But with that said, bye-bye.
See ya.
Ciao.